Good evening, wrestling fans, and welcome to the Wrestle Talk Podcast. For the next 2 hours, we will bring you the latest pro wrestling news, in-depth analysis of all your favorite promotions from across the globe, and much, much more. We will also bring you exclusive interviews with the greatest professional wrestling personalities on the local, national, and international levels. If you want to follow the Wrestle Talk Podcast, check us out online at www.wrestletalkpodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And now, it's time for the reigning, defending, undisputed leader in pro wrestling podcast, the Wrestle Talk Podcast.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's episode of the Wrestle Talk Podcast right here on all the great social media outlets, Wrestle Talk Podcast, as well as on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. Wrestle Talk Podcast for all your wrestling needs. And tonight, right here on this very program, we are going to have the one, the only Chris Exodus, the Dragonfly, joining us here on the program just a few days ahead of being in a champion versus champion match at CHWA May Day, which is available on Saturday, May 18th in Edwardsville, Illinois. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, before we go ahead and get things started this evening, I'm going to go ahead here in just a moment and bring a man who many of you know. He has basically been, for many, many years, the backbone of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. A man who has traveled the world. He's been all around the world bringing the best in professional wrestling to you each and every week, whether it's here in St. Louis, Kansas City. I could go on and on and on. You can talk about Wichita, Kansas. You talk about Las Vegas, Nevada. I keep going on and on and on when I talk about this man. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead here. And as we well know, I've got our production team in the back. So ladies and gentlemen, at this time, welcome to the program, the one, the only, the Night Owl himself, Rene Martinez. Night Owl, how are you doing here this evening?
Hey, que pasa, loyal members of the Wrestle Talk family, and my brother, Luke Skywalker Roberts. What a treat it is to be here for episode 480 of the Wrestle Talk Podcast, man. Now, I'm not sure how long I'm going to be here tonight. I'm actually not scheduled to host this evening, but another one of our guys is dealing with a personal matter. Should be here somewhere inside of the first hour. So till then, I will do my best to fill some very big shoes as the Robin to your Batman, Skywalker.
I don't know if I'd go that far, Night Owl. I really don't. I mean, again, I'm surprised
world,
you haven't.
I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut.
Hey, I got to put it this way. I'm happy in the fact that we're 3 minutes into the program and you already haven't dissed on my jacket, by the way. I'm very proud of that.
Let's have a conversation. I mean, it's our show, and I know everybody's here for wrestling, but I think I would be beckoned if I didn't ask. Like, I would be remiss if I didn't ask, how does a St. Louis guy end up as a Cubbies fan? I think we might have told this story one other time. Before you tell your story, I do want to let you know that I do have a Cubs jersey signed by Ozzie Smith. Don't know if you remember I told you that story, but how the hell did you become a Cubs fan first?
Well, Night Owl, it's one of those things where in my family, we kind of do things a little bit backwards. I mean, my brother, longtime professional wrestler, he was born about an hour outside of Chicago in a town called Rockford, Illinois. And to this day and time, he cannot support Chicago sports. He can't support the Bears. He can't support the Blackhawks. He can't support the Cubs. He can't support the White Sox. He can't support anybody in Chicago. He is a St. Louisan through and through. Me, on the other hand, when I sit there and I look at things, I can't, in good faith, support any other team but the Chicago Cubs. That's probably my one team outside, and I'll level with you, outside of probably Michigan State hockey, probably one of the very few sports that I, Luke Roberts, follow. And again, it's one of those things, just kind of comes with the territory. And, you know, tonight here on the Wrestle Talk Podcast, I feel very fortunate that we're going to have the opportunity to talk to a man who really has been across, as you would say, the territories. And Night Owl, I'm going to bring you back in here for just a minute because you know very well. You've been very well traveled. You've been to a lot of promotions in Western Missouri. You've been to the east side of the state. You've been to a lot of promotions in Kansas. Would I be safe to say that tonight's guest is one of those that is basically traveling the territories, if you will?
Well, here's what I love about Chris Exodus. So he's very, very loyal. From what I've seen, he's very, very loyal to his market, but he's not afraid to go outside of it, whether it's Missouri, Illinois, or beyond. I like guys who have the ability. Now, I know not everybody's built the same. Everybody's family circumstance is a little bit different, so I'm not knocking the guys that can't do the drives, as Uncle Bob says. But when I do see the young guys, relatively young guys, that are doing the drives and that they want the exposure and they want the challenge of not being the guy at the top of the card at their home promotion, because for some, it's quite comfortable to just stay home. That I get it. But for a guy like the Dragonfly to be able to spread his wings and take his talents beyond, let's just say, his home market, you got to say, this is a guy that wants it. And that's why he's on the Wrestle Talk podcast tonight.
Very much true, Night Owl. And you know something? I know we brought it up earlier, and I know you brought it up here, but I got to level with you. I've been around the Wrestle Talk podcast a long time. I'm very proud to call the Wrestle Talk podcast my family. But I want to ask you this.
Okay. All right, we already had this up for a half hour. This was already up for 30 minutes, Skywalker. What are you doing now? Now you're just taking over the show. What the hell? What?
Well, no. I want to look at it this way. You and Assad have known each other for many, many years. How does it feel to know that your friends, your family, if you will, is supporting my guys? I got to make sure I'm on the right side here.
This is the
Chicago
about Cubbies fans. As a matter of fact, this is all Chicago Bulls fans. I mean, all Chicago fans in general. You're talking about Hawks fans, Cubbies fans, Sox fans. You automatically, because somebody asks you about your team, you automatically assume that we're the opposition. Whereas the kids say, you think we're the ops. Bro, I'm a Marlins fan. I ain't got shit to say about no. I grew up in South Florida, bro. What you want me to say? Last time we were good, we had Bobby Bonilla and Gary Sheffield on the team. Okay, and I know we've had a couple of opportunities here and there. I think we even won a title a few years back. My point is, you're the historic Chicago Cubs. We're the lowly Florida Marlins that can barely pack the stadium. Bro, I am talking zero trash. I'm just trying to figure out how a St. Louis boy ended up a Cubs fan. Who was your favorite player growing up? But you know what? We'll save that for a little bit later because folks are here for wrestling. So why don't we just call that, as if they call in the business, a teaser. We'll hit them with that right before the break. I want to figure out exactly who was that player that made you fall in love with the Cubs, because it's always a player, unless your family twists your arm and makes you a fan. But I want to hear that a little bit later. But the folks are here for wrestling. We've got 17 on the Facebook alone. We got a few more over on the X and a bunch more over on YouTube, which I can't see right now. If you guys haven't already, please hit that like button, hit the share button. If you want to come on, let us know. You can either message me or Skywalker. And guess what? We shoot you a little link and you can come on. And here's where it gets even better, Skywalker. If they got a good take, or if they got a pro wrestling subject that really makes us go, I got some merch I want to give away, baby. I got the swag. So let's make it happen, y'all. Participate, involve yourself in the show, hit the like, hit the share, hit the heart. Be a part of the Wrestle Talk family, man. We are welcoming you in with the red carpet rolled out. That's all I got to say.
And you know something, Night Owl, if we're going to roll out the red carpet, we got to roll out the red carpet for all of our great sponsors. When you talk about our sponsors of the program, Royal Mills Transportation, home of the CEO himself, Tawan Mills, Nobleman's Barber Lounge, Kansas City, Kincaid Arcade at the Oak Park Mall, Interstate 70 Sports Media, home of our good friend, the maestro, Jeremy Karp, Little Popeye Designs. You saw that mug, but we also have great Wrestle Talk podcast tumblers available, and the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. And I got to tell you something right now, Night Owl. When we look at this here, and we look at, I got to level with you. I have to make my summer resolution. I know people make New Year's resolutions. I got to make a summer resolution.
All right.
That summer resolution is I got to get from my wonderful home here outside of St. Louis, Missouri, and I got to get back out to KC, because you and Stunning Money Mayo and the CEO and countless other people have talked about Kincaid at the Oak Park Mall. I got to tell you, man, it's one of those where that is a happening place to be. And Luke Roberts is always.
Can somebody watching tag my guy Derek Smith DBD. He's doing music. He's actually partnering up with our guy Remy Ricks, one of our champions in the FWWC. So if anybody's watching, man, tag my boy Derek Smith. Let him know that we are putting him over. We're putting over our guy Remy Ricks, and more importantly, we're putting over Kincaid Arcade and the Retro Zone at the Oak Park Mall. If you haven't, man, if you've been watching the show for any amount of time, you should already know about Kincaid. But if you haven't checked it out yet, like Skywalker said, get your asses down there pronto.
I got to say, just for the geography side of me, down there, up there, around there, whatever the case may be, get to Kincaid at the Oak Park Mall. You're going to be definitely enjoying it. Now, Night Owl,
what he said.
Tonight here, we want to talk wrestling. And I mean, again, there's a lot of things going on in the world of pro wrestling. And I'm going to level with you. Tonight, we're going to talk about AEW. We're talking about the WWE. We're going to talk about Impact Wrestling. And who knows, we might even throw in some New Japan and some CMLL in there too.
Bro,
we talk
about
all
some black,
around.
Can we talk about some black champions? That's why I don't know if that's one of the high spots questions tonight. But one thing that I'm going to definitely bring up, if the time permits, is all these amazing African-American champions we have in professional wrestling right now. It is Le Magnifique. Because we put up over Damian Priest Hughes last week. You know, we had Latin Tornado in, and we talked a lot about the Latino culture in wrestling, and the draft happened. Rey Mysterio, everybody went over. Man, I just want to make sure we can find that time, Skywalker. You're the conductor in this situation, or in this train. I just want to see if we can touch on that for a second if we got some time.
Well, we're going to do that. But you know something, Night Owl? I'm going to tell you something. And this is something I know for a fact that you weren't prepared to hear. We have been live for 12 minutes. We have received, in the last 3 days, we have received close to 40 messages about the idea that we have given some props, as we always do each and every week. We always pay homage to the greatest country in the world. But I'm going to level with you, Night Owl.
Okay.
I have had 40 plus people tell me that for tonight, and tonight only, that we should pay homage in a little bit of a different manner.
Okay.
We are going to work together to make this a reality.
This feels so dramatic. The suspense is killing me.
Well, you know what's there. So here's what it is. I'm going to go ahead, because the only man, I'm a level with the only man that does this better than you and I and our buddy Chris Rodell is the one and only Nightmare Jones, Joe Lance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand this over to you. I'm going to make sure that I have everything ready to rock and roll. We honor our fans. We follow the Wrestle Talk podcast family. So I want to go ahead. I'm going to get things ready. You go ahead and do our introduction as it relates to the good old United States of America. Night Owl, take it away.
You got it. With my stick in hand, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to join me in respectfully removing your caps, placing your hands over your hearts as we pay homage to the greatest country on God's green earth. That's America, damn it. Hit it.
Singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag
All right, let's hear it for the one and only Tom Simon.
You know something, Night Owl? We're getting ever closer to that magic episode, 500. And you know something? I'm going to put it on my list for the next Wrestle Talk podcast.
I gotta go single camera real quick, bro, because I gotta make sure we tight. Okay, just okay, we good. Okay, all right.
Okay, you're good now. You got your fashion statement taken care of here.
Bro. First things first. It's all about
I get you. I get you entirely. But you know something? I put it in the message meeting. I'm going to make sure we get taken care of at our next business meeting. We're getting dangerously close to episode 500. And what do you think about the idea if we can make a few calls and maybe see if we can get Tom Simon to do that live at 500?
Well, I don't want to spill the beans because we got a big meeting at the beginning of next week. But listen, guys, episode 500 is not going to be your regular episode, you cockroaches. So make sure you open your ears. That's all I'm going to say right now.
well, you know something, Night Owl. I mean, again, it's one of those where
wait a minute. I can't wear this hat without having to put over Haas. Every time I wear this hat, see, I should have never accepted it because John, you're an Indian giver. No, I'm just playing.
Well, you know, I got to put this out.
Shout out to my man Haas for making it. These are not for sale, by the way. These are for Wrestle Talk staff only, y'all. Sorry. Thank you, Haas, for putting this thing together. Le magnifique.
Well, you know something, Night Owl? I'm going to go ahead. I know we're supposed to be getting ready for High Spots.
Oh, shit.
One of the big parts of this broadcast each and every week. But you know something? I didn't tell you this.
You a snitch.
But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hit it right now.
Did I miss something? Breaking news nobody told me.
It's called a surprise, Night Owl. And there's a reason why. Ladies and gentlemen, fresh off of the Wrestle Talk podcast and the one, the only Gabriel Arsene, attending MLW's War Chamber 2 in St. Petersburg, Florida. I can officially say that this coming Sunday night, live from Ranson, West Virginia, the Wrestle Talk podcast is going to be on the road once again, as the man says, on the road again. The one, the only this time, Hardcore Hoss, the man you brought up just a few minutes ago, is going to be corresponding and bringing us special exclusive information live from Micro Wrestling. You heard me right. This Sunday night, our good friend Hardcore Hoss is going to be at Micro Wrestling in Ranson, West Virginia, and he is going to be sharing it with all the great viewers of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Night Owl, I wanted to keep it a secret, but I wanted to make sure before we got to High Spots that we got there. I got to ask you, man, we're getting farther and farther along, and the Wrestle Talk podcast is in high demand. Your thoughts on Hardcore Hoss being at Micro Wrestling this weekend?
Well, bro, what can I say? I mean, when you led into this, you said something about Gabriel Arsene being at MLW. Then I know there were some backstage talks about potentially being at AEW, and as kind as they were to us, we were not able to attend, and that's fine. I'm sure there'll be another opportunity, but to know that the work we've done with some of these incredible companies is paying dividends, not only for them, but also for us, is wonderful, because our intention is the same always. We want to see professional wrestling grow. If the Wrestle Talk podcast does that alongside it, great. If not, that's fine too, because we absolutely love what we do here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. But to know that John, Big Hoss, the hardcore champ, is going to get that opportunity, man, I couldn't be happier. And honestly, bro, it couldn't happen to a better guy.
I agree with you, Night Owl. And when we sit here and we look at things, we also have to, of course, thank all the members of the Wrestle Talk family. They're putting our name out there. They're tuning in each and every Tuesday night. They're checking in on the social media. They're doing all of those great things to help move the Wrestle Talk podcast forward. And I got to tell you right now, when it comes down to it, when we look at it, it's real simple. I think, as we put it out there, I'm actually going ahead and finding it. to Hardcore Hoss, to Micro Wrestling, to Luke Skywalker Roberts and the Night Owl, and of course to the Wrestle Talk Podcast family. I think everybody deserves a round of applause. And Night Owl, as we go into high spots, there's only one more thing that I have to say.
Never drew a dime. Not a dime.
See, that's one of those things. We always have fun here on the program, but we're going to go from having fun.
I want you to have that one ready for when Gabe gets here because his ass is late tonight. So I want you to hit that drop when his ass gets here tonight. Shout out to everybody watching, man. If y'all feel generous tonight, hit that like button, hit the share button. And if you want to discuss professional wrestling topics with your boys here on the Wrestle Talk Podcast, episode 480, let us know. Shoot either one of us a message or drop a comment. We'll shoot you the link. We'll bring you right on.
And right now, we're going to go ahead. We're not going to take any more time. Let's go ahead and get into high spots right here. Of course, brought in by the one, the only DJ Money.
Mic check, mic check. Yeah. All right. Wrestle Talk Podcast. DJ Money. Yeah. Let's go. Welcome to High Spots, where we pop news like flare chops. We dog shop, coming through the screens of a laptop and non-stop like a running speakers of blacktop. We hit hard like chair shots and backdrops. Like a clock flash, look like a belly flop. Now that's hard. We up to speed while they stay slow. Wrestle Talk Podcast, now they know we about to start the show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, DJ Money, if you need anything musical, you need any kind of graphics, you name it, DJ Money, get a hold of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. We'll hook you up with DJ Money. Great graphics, great music, you name it from top to bottom. DJ Money, longtime member of the Wrestle Talk Podcast family. Night Owl, it's time. It's simple put. Let's not waste any more. Let's get the randomizer rolling tonight. And so before we get to the first question here, Night Owls, we're looking it up. I have the weirdest echo here in the Luke Roberts office tonight. I was hearing it in like 4 different places in my office. It's like the creepiest thing in the world when it comes down to listening to that. The randomizer is just kind of like taking over my office. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely.
I'm gonna put you in the randomizer and couples therapy. That's what we're gonna do next.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and throw our first question out there. According to several media outlets, are saying that Drew McIntyre has indeed re-signed with the WWE. Is this the best move for him? Night Owl, I'm going to level with you here. To me, if you would have asked me this a year ago, I would have said most definitely. But I'm going to go against the grain right now, and I'm going to say Drew McIntyre re-signing with the WWE was a mistake. And here's why. Drew McIntyre is an accomplished wrestler, multi-time champion in the WWE. But when you look at it, his last reign was what? 6 minutes? 7 minutes? You've got a man with a wealth of knowledge and talent, and he can't hold the championship more than 10 minutes. To me, that's writing on the wall. I'm going to tell you right now, here's my thought. Send him to New Japan. I think he'd be a good fit there. I think it would definitely be a different style. And without question, I think he'd be a great fit in New Japan. Night Owl, your thoughts?
I'm kind of looking at some of the social media fodder concerning this instance, and I'm going to say, just from what I've seen, you are absolutely in the minority here. Now, John agrees with you. They've misused Drew, and I hear all that, But guess what? I am actually with the IWC. on this topic, Skywalker. I feel like Drew McIntyre, as high of a plateau as he's gotten to, there is still more opportunity for him to ascend. So if he had ascended to his highest peak and he was on the tail end of that or on the back end of that, I would say, yeah, maybe it's time for him to kind of re-grease the wheel and kind of come back and do it again. Okay. And what's funny is, and I'm looking at the comments that are hitting the screen here, and thank you guys for the interaction. We really appreciate it. Again, don't forget to hit the like and the share and all that stuff. We really appreciate when you guys do that. But I guess what I want to get to is this: the fact that people are upset that Drew's been getting quote unquote screwed over, which I completely disagree with, tells me that he has an unfinished story within the WWE. Now, there's another individual who we may get an opportunity to talk about that his contract was recently up and he did not re-sign, and I think it's a very positive thing for him. But for Drew McIntyre, Skywalker, he's coming into his own as a leader, not only as a leader when it comes to putting him in a lot of consistent main event type situations and spots, but also in terms of the locker room. For those who pay attention to this sort of thing, Sheamus is still one of those guys. Drew is becoming one of those guys. Roman is the guy. Seth is one of those guys, and so on and so forth. And I think were Drew to go anywhere else, he would almost have to start at the bottom of the totem pole, not as far as like his booking, Skywalker, but building the prestige and the equity that he has built within the WWE. I see many, many good things coming from Drew McIntyre. Now, I want everybody to understand, just because they haven't given him the title doesn't mean he's been getting screwed. There's no instance, even in Cardiff, where anybody can tell me that it would have been a good idea overall for Roman to lose the title to Drew. It was it was too big. Drew McIntyre's momentum was good. Roman Reigns' momentum at that time was freaking nuclear. So as great as that night would have been, much like what happened to Dean Ambrose when he became champion, it probably would have tailed off rather quickly. So it just so happened that Drew McIntyre happened to be playing ball in the Roman Reigns era, no different than poor John Stockton and Charles Barkley and Karl Malone all ended up playing in the Jordan era. It's not their fault, but it doesn't mean that they should go to the big three. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's only one at the top. So just because Drew's not the one at the top doesn't mean that he's getting screwed.
You know something, Night Owl? I'm going to throw this one at you. And I'm going to level with you. There's times I don't agree with this viewer of the Wrestle Talk podcast family. But this is one that really interests me.
Absurd. I want you to Google how many shows a year CMLL has. I want you to look that up.
You're on that. I'm gonna look that up right now while we're here. I'm actually gonna fire up the Luke Roberts computer, and again, the wonderful, great folks at that of that
absurd
company known as Google. And just for the record, if Google would like to sponsor the Wrestle Talk podcast, please get in contact with you guys. We'd be more than happy to do that. Go ahead and continue your thought, Nino.
No, I guess I just want to wrap up by saying, because Drew McIntyre isn't sitting at the very top or at the very peak, it doesn't mean that his opportunity won't come. Pay attention not to the result of his matches, but I want you to pay attention to who they're putting him with. Okay? Think about it. Roman, then Seth, now Punk. They're keeping him in the class that is at the very top. And there are only 2 belts to go around for about 8 guys that can be considered the top guys in the company. So just because, again, he's not winning, it doesn't mean that he doesn't deserve to be there. Secondly, and I know what Luke Skywalker is going to come back and tell me how many shows CMLL does. It was a trick question. It doesn't matter how many shows they do because all of their shows are in Mexico. The WWE is doing shows around the world. And as a matter of fact, between now and their big pay-per-view, Skywalker, everything is outside of the United States. So you'd have to be an idiot, even if they push him to the middle of card, to think that he's going to make as much money or as get enough notoriety in a company like CMLL as he would with the WWE. I mean, CMLL doesn't even have a TV deal in Mexico. Okay, so there's just a lot of information that I think is missing, and people just like to throw stuff out there. That would be a significant step backwards for Drew McIntyre. And on that note, I'm going to let you jump back in.
Hold up. No.
Wait, I want to say just one last thing. My time is coming short, and we do have another host ready to kind of pinch hit for me. So make your point, and I'm going to get on out of here for tonight. Go ahead.
Oh, most definitely. But I want you to hold on a minute. I went back, and again, thanks to the wonderful folks of Google, you talk about how CMLL does not have a television deal. I can agree with you on that. Right now in the world of professional wrestling, TV or an internet streaming deal or something like that is where you're going to make large chunks of money. 53 events already in 24. And ironically, on May 19th, if you haven't had a chance, go back, WWE, May 19th, Google it, as the kids say, and you can find out a little more about that piece of history, that nugget of wrestling history. But on May 19th, live from the UK, from London, England, CMLL, Fantastica Mania, will be partnering with Rev Pro.
Right. So they're hitching their wagon to an established promotion in another country. They're not running their own show there like WWE goes to Saudi Arabia and has WrestleMania level shows twice a year. Come on, Skywalker, who are you trying to play with? Are you trying to lawyer me right now? How are you trying to compare a co-op show with Rev Pro to what the WWE is doing in Australia or in Scotland? Come on, bro. You're playing yourself right now. You sound silly, bro.
Well, you know something, Night Owl? You and I are going to agree to disagree. We've had plenty of agree to disagree moments. But you know what? Before you go, I think it's only justified. You talked about another guest host, a man who's going to step in, take over for you, prove my point, and make sure that this show is going to be nice and peaceful and truth for the Wrestle Talk fam. I'm going to go ahead and throw it out to a man who very well knows what's up in the world of professional wrestling. He's been all around the country. He's been all around the Midwest. And he also remembers this very well, too. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the maestro, Jeremy Carter.
Why must you do this to me? First off, you're lucky I'm not coming after you, Luke, because you're the one with the Cubs jacket on and I got my Cardinal shirt. Now,
well, I'm going to throw it this way, especially considering that the Night Owl left after talking about his Miami Marlins, who has that big, bad 6-24 record.
yeah.
Where I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to level with you.
Oh, my God. I missed El Ride. I love that guy so much. I'll continue.
Well, I'm going to put it this way before we go ahead and have you back up my point here when it comes to Drew McIntyre. And it's going to be right there. Thank you, Freddie Jack Funkhauser, for joining the program here tonight. I got to ask you, Carp, how can the Night Owl support a team who's 6-24? That's my question to you. We'll put the Drew McIntyre question on hold for a minute. How can the Night Owl support a team at 6-24?
You know, I thought about this, and then I said to myself, that really is a good question, because look at the team that's right on his doorstep. Look at the Kansas City Royals. I mean, come on, man. The Kansas City Royals right now are 17-13. They're one of the top teams in the American League. They're definitely the best baseball team in Missouri as of tonight. And yet, you're cheering on the Marlins? Oh,
Well-
get out of here with that. Oh,
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Carp, and I think, and again, you will agree with me on this. And I know this is the Wrestle Talk podcast, and we're getting a lot of people who are connected in here, and the comments are starting to go big time here on the program tonight. I got to level with you. Once again, the Central is holding solid. When the top team and the bottom team in division are only separated by 4 wins, the Central is delivering again this year. And again, I'm not going to necessarily knock the Cardinals because you know me, we've had conversations. I'm not going to have any ill will towards the Cardinals. But when it comes down to it, the Cardinals are playing .500 ball and are half a game out of last place. The Cubs are only 18-11. Their average is a little over 600. And right now they're at the top of the Central. That shows how tight that Central division is. So going back to wrestling now, because of the fact Fairweather fans don't understand. Newsflash, that's not Fairweather fans. That's a team that's not playing well at all. So at this point in time, as we say here, I'm going to throw this out here to you, and I'm going to put the question back up here as we look at it here.
okay.
Several media outlets are saying that Drew has re-signed with the WWE.
Yes.
Is this the best move for him?
Well, I think it depends on what you consider the best move for him. If it's about pursuing championship gold, no. If it's about maintaining a position of being a top star in relation to helping other top stars maintain their position, then yes. Because this is how I look at it. To be honest, Drew McIntyre, to me, is one of the most entertaining wrestlers and characters on WWE television all across the board right now. Like in every way, whether it be via promos, segments, or matches. And you take a look at, to the Night Owl's point, no, he has been a while since he's truly won championship gold that he's held for a long duration of time. But because of that, it not only elevated his story at WrestleMania, but it also elevated the stories of guys like Damian Priest and Seth Rollins. Because guess what? When Drew McIntyre beat Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 40, what did Seth Rollins do? Seth Rollins basically said, look, you earned it. You took me to the limit. I respect that. Meanwhile, so that elevates that. Then you take a look at how the feud with, and no, screw the Cubs. I see that comment aside. Screw the Cubs. Anyway, then you take a look at the thing with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Now, intertwined with both of those feuds is Damian Priest cashing in his Money in the Bank contract on the new champion, Drew McIntyre. Look, whoever was going to be champ, we knew Damian Priest was going to cash in. The thing of it is, it makes it even better it was Drew McIntyre because McIntyre still got his WrestleMania moment. He did win the title in front of a live crowd. It was an ecstatic crowd, and it was a great match, and he almost won the match in the first 4 or 5 seconds. But what happens now? The crowd feels bad that Damian Priest basically stole that title away from him. Meanwhile, Drew McIntyre is still on Raw, being the complete douche that he is because he's that heel that is after CM Punk. So, in regards to all of that, He's perfect where he's at right now. Now, if it's about being the top star in the company where you hold all that gold around the waist, you know, and you're the poster boy, the poster child, all that, by all means, he could thrive in New Japan. He could thrive in CMLL. I think Drew McIntyre is a great commodity, whatever promotion he goes to. But you also need to have the right team behind him to put him in the right positions to succeed. It's not just, hey, I'm a great wrestler, therefore I'm going to be great at this company. I hate to say it. We've seen that before in WWE. We've seen that before in AEW. We've seen that in WCW. Any major promotion, we've seen that in, Luke. And you and I have been watching wrestling a long time. You longer than me even. So it comes down to this. For Drew McIntyre, for what he wants to do, he's in the right spot. If he wants to do more, he's probably going to have to go somewhere else.
I agree with you. And again, as our great broadcast colleague would definitely say,
very impressive. Very, very impressive.
And you know what? We can't say that always about our commentary here on the Wrestle Talk podcast, but I got to tell you right now, that was definitely well fit. So right now we're going to go ahead, we're going to hit the randomizer, and we're going to go ahead and go up to another question. Again, as a reminder, we are going to have, if you want to join us and you want to send us a message, you want to join on the program, make it a point to send us a message here. Who knows? We might even be able to bring you here onto the program this evening. So let's go ahead and hit the randomizer once again for another question. All right, now we're going to go ahead and bring up this graphic here because I know a lot of people may not know this individual. Former NWA World Women's Champion Camille. Actually, let me go ahead and put that back up here. We actually have to get the graphic up here for those that may or may not be familiar. Let me go ahead here real quick, and we'll throw that up here. Camille here on the screen is supposedly signed with AEW. Is AEW the best fit for her? Or should she have gone to another promotion? And you know something, Maestro? As we get ready for this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring this forward. And I know you were able to catch it here earlier on in the program. I'm going to go ahead and bring on the third member of our team here this evening. And you know what? As we bring in the one, the only Gabriel Arsene, I have a message that I was instructed, Mr. Arsene, and I know that you weren't able to catch it, but this comes from a man who had a meeting earlier today, and he just wanted me, when it comes to you, and this is his words, not mine, to remind you.
Never drew a dime. Not a dime. Not a dime. Never drew a dime. Not a
Damn.
Hey,
Did you get that off your chest,
I'm
Luke?
following directions here tonight on the program. Now, Mr. Arsene, you have had an opportunity to see a lot of wrestling. I have to ask you, your thoughts of Camille potentially going to AEW?
This is a very loaded question, only because NWA is a weird transition, whether she's going to WWE or AEW. Because when you think about traditional wrestling fundamentals, when you think about traditional wrestling as a whole, and just the contrast between NWA, I feel like AEW will give her the gravitas, so to speak. You know, I feel like they're very good at reminding people of, like, you know, people's pedigree when it comes to wrestling. Like, oh, they've wrestled here, former this champion, former that champion. But the presentation of them in the way that they're supposed to be shown to people, I feel like has a bit of a disconnect. But for WWE, I feel like it's a similar issue. You know what I mean? Because it's like, how many NWA people do you know go to WWE? And it's like, we're not in the 80s anymore, you know? Like, in the 80s, it was, like, passable. But, like, we're in the 2020s now.
Well, you know something, Gabe? I have a couple of comments here that were brought up by the fans here. Number one, Assad, who I was getting along with. For the first time in a long time, I had gotten along with Assad. Camille's all elite. I don't think so. And I'm going to explain my view on it here in a minute. But to me, I look at it this way. And gentlemen, I want to throw this at you because we've talked about how there's a lot of different promotions we're going to talk about here in High Spots. We've already talked about WWE. We've already talked about AEW. We've already had a connection to CMLL here earlier in the program tonight. My question to you is this. While the NWA and the Burke, as they call it, the Women's Championship, is very well respected in the world of professional wrestling. Matter of fact, I do believe, Mr. Karp, if I'm not mistaken, did you have an opportunity to see Camille Brickhouse compete in PWE?
I did, and
Get out.
Fantastic. Like, she was a fantastic wrestler, and more importantly, a amazing person I had the pleasure of talking to backstage.
Well, here's my question, gentlemen. And I'm not throwing shade on AEW, but I have a question. AEW or Stardom?
Ooh, Luke Roberts. Now that's a loaded question. That's the real question. Why you got to do that in the middle of the program, Luke? Now I'm sitting here stewing on it. we got 2 hours to fill. I can't have a half an hour of that being me thinking about it. Jeremy, you want to take the lead? What do you think?
You know, okay, there's two ways you can go about this. If there's a fork in the road, take it, right? No. I mean, I will say this.
Stardom.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna say Stardom. Look, and there's a reason, because WWRS is just really exciting. And I'm not saying AEW is a boring product, but lately when you hear about AEW, most of the time you hear about it for two reasons. Number one, Tony Khan doing or saying something absolutely asinine. Number two, it's because of the low viewership. Now, WWRS, or I'll just say Stardom, is not a promotion that a lot of people are familiar with, the casual wrestling fans.
The scrubs, as we like to call them.
Having a star like Camille, who's a former NWA Women's World Champion, going to Stardom is a huge boost for them. Because not only will it put more eyes on her from the Japanese audience, it'll put more eyes on the whole promotion, on all the talented women on the roster out there. I mean, you know, and Micah, Saori, Anoa'i, I mean, there's a lot of great wrestlers. Here's a great tag team for you, Crazy Star. Like, I feel that Camille, the ceiling's higher in Stardom, but the safer bet is AEW. It's kind of one of those things where, okay, at least I know that if I go to AEW, I'll get probably around 1 million people weekly tuning in to see me. And I got one of 3 possible shows that I could be on. Okay, cool. Now, obviously, this isn't me bashing her signing with AEW. I don't think it's a bad decision at all on her end. I just think it would... The sky's more the limit, I feel like, if you go somewhere that's not as known. Because that way you can be part of it when it makes history, when it flies to the top. That's how I look at it, personally.
Well, you know something, Arsene, you're going to stew on this all the way through the Chris Exodus interview, and I would expect that from you, especially considering the fact that this is it's a highly developed question. But I'm going to tell you right now. To me, my thoughts are this. You send her to Stardom. You let her conquer the world of Stardom. You send her to New Japan. Let her conquer the world of New Japan. Then she comes back to America as pretty much a certifiable legend. And then she makes the big statement on the big stage. Now, I want to throw this out here right now as we're going to go here. And again, thank you to all the fans who've been chiming in here this evening. Please make it a point, share us out throughout the program. Hashtag WTP, hashtag Wrestle Talk Podcast, hashtag Let's Talk Wrestling. You know something right now here as Gabriel's trying to spell as we go along here with the program. Let's go ahead. We're going to be joined here by the one, the only, the Dragonfly Chris Exodus here in just a few moments. Let's go ahead here real quick. And we're going to go ahead and look who joined us. The one, the only.
Hey, Jeremy Jones.
He's joining us here on the program. I mean, again, you don't know who's going to tune into the Wrestle Talk podcast each and every Tuesday night. And again, we're going to give a shout out to. We're going to give a great shout out here. And again, make it a point. Check it out through Interstate 70 Sports Media, through Wrestle Talk Podcast. A lot of great eyes are coming to the program here tonight. Let's go ahead here real quick. I want to throw one more High Spots question out here. Give me just a minute here. Let me go ahead and see if we can get this taken care of. One more question at least. All right, let's go ahead and throw another question out here. Here you go. You want another big question? You got another big question. Who do you see making the biggest impact as a result of the WWE draft?
I got this. Ooh, I got this one.
Okay, Carp, I'm going to throw this to you here because you're going to go ahead and you're going to pull all that information up. I'm actually, for those that weren't able to catch both nights, I'm going to pull up the list as you give your statement here to figure out who you think makes the biggest impact from the draft.
Okay. Well, I want to say before I get into my answer as far as the wrestler I feel that is going to make the biggest impact as a result of the draft, I want to say first off, they really need to start shaking these drafts up more. I'm sorry, but when 90% of the on-air draftees are the same, like from the same brand, it just really starts, and I get it.
I mean, isn't that what the shakeup is for, though? Like the draft is more like. I'm sorry not to cut you off, Jeremy.
No, you're good. That's fine.
Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I guess. I mean, if somebody's on Raw, what do they benefit from taking them off of Raw? I guess is what I'm.
Okay, but then what's the benefit of having a draft to potentially draft them to another brand?
I mean that's fair.
Like that's the thing. When they hype up the draft, when they hype up a superstar shakeup or any of this stuff, they hype up the possibility of, hey, your guy, like, okay, how many of us really thought Seth freaking Rollins or Drew McIntyre were going to end up on SmackDown? Let's be real here, and I love SmackDown. I think it's the A show, but we know it wasn't going to be. They were going to end up on Raw. Now, with that type of thing being said, let me say who I feel is going to be the biggest difference maker because of his draft. And it's a guy who did not change his position, his brand. And that is the Australian super heavyweight known as Big Bronson Reed. Okay. Now, the reason I think Bronson Reed is going to make the biggest impact, first off, in 2K24, he's one of my favorite opponents to have. Like, and he will take on a lot of these guys pretty damn well. But I digress off that point. Bronson Reed, all right, Gunther loses the IC title to Sami Zayn at WrestleMania, ending the historic streak with the devilish date. Now, Gunther cuts a promo saying, all right, you know what? I lost. Respect. But now this is a great opportunity because now I get to go for a bigger title. You're right. Gunther now gets to go for, he's going for King of the Ring. He's going to go for the World Heavyweight title. You know, he'll probably get Money in the Bank. Sky's the limit. So where does that leave Sami Zayn? Well, now he's got Chad Gable. Yeah, he's feuding with Gable. But let's face it, Bronson Reed is going to be the next star for holding that IC title. Like, he to me is that guy that's the big foil that eventually is going to find a way to get the best of Sami Zayn, possibly thanks to Chad Gable, and become the new Intercontinental Champion. Now, Raw right now is boosted mainly by its high-end stars. That's top tier. But the mid-card could use a little help. Enter the guys like Sami Zayn, Bronson Reed, Chad Gable. Like, Bronson, people don't realize, just because you're on the mid-card doesn't mean you're a mid-wrestler. I want to make that perfectly clear. If you're in the middle of the card, you have just as important of a role as anybody, because you got to still keep the fans engaged through the show to the main event. So, to me, Bronson Reed is on a prime show where he's got the ample opportunity to continue the new great tradition of elevating this IC title. Gunther re-elevated it. Sami Zayn's maintaining it. Gable's putting it in a good feud with him. And Bronson Reed's already done enough on Raw the past 2 or 3 weeks to where he's made it clear he's not going anywhere. So that is my big difference maker for Raw. So that's
well, gentlemen, as Carp goes on to his deal here, I want to go ahead real quick, and I want to go ahead and give a summary here before I throw it to Gabriel Arsene. Raw, over the course of all the draft picks, and this includes supplementals, as we look at what's here, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, Liv Morgan, Ricochet, Sheamus, Alpha Academy, Kiana James, Alba Fire, Isla Dawn, Ivar, Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, Imperium, Damage Control, CM Punk, Braun Strowman, the LWO, Drew McIntyre, the Judgment Day, Ilya Dragunov, the New Day, Lyra Valkyria, the Final Testament, Bronson Reed, the Diamond Mine, Dijak, Carter and Chance, Natalia, New Catch Republic, and Odyssey Jones. I think I went through about 7 hours worth of programming right there.
That was my second, by the way, my second pick. I'm sorry to cut you off. I love you, Luke. Odyssey Jones was my second pick when it came to potential big difference makers. But okay, I'm sorry. I'm terrible. Go ahead.
All right. Now let's move on to SmackDown. Bianca Belair, Carmelo Hayes, Randy Orton, Nia Jax, LA Knight, The Bloodline, minus Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, Andrade, Baron Corbin, Cedric Alexander, Ashanti the Adonis, The OC, Jade Cargill, Kevin Owens, The Pride, Tiffany Stratton, Legado del Fantasma, Shinsuke Nakamura, Naomi, Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, Pretty Deadly, Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, DIY, Blair Davenport, Apollo Crews, Giovanni Vinci, and Tegan Knox. Now that I'm going to need a break to get some oxygen in after reading probably a 70-member roster, Arsene, your thoughts. Who's going to make the biggest impact?
All right. I'm going to tell you guys right now the biggest pick that I was so happy to see, and then I'm telling everybody, not just you two, everybody out there in the Wrestle Talk podcast family and every last person in the WWE universe, Ilya Dragunov, the Mad Dragon, is going to make the biggest splash here now that he's on the main roster. For those who haven't seen this man, hurry up and dig up his matches in NXT. Yeah, I know he just lost the title, but Trick Williams is the shit, and if you're going to lose it to anybody, that's the man to lose to. But when you want to talk about a dude that is scary beyond belief, I just want to put this into perspective. Oh, what's the big deal, Alpha? What's the big deal, Arsene? Why should we care about Ilya Dragunov? He's the man who beat Gunther. And that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. Everybody thinks about how scary the ring general is. The Mad Dragon cut him down to size. So imagine what he's going to do on the main roster. But to throw a couple more answers out there, because that's my first pick, I still have a couple others. If I can just rattle them off real quick before throwing it to you, Luke. I think Ilya is the biggest one to keep our eyes for, but I definitely think the one that is really good as far as the call-ups are coming for, that has all the room for improvement and just needs the opportunity, Braun Breaker. I think Braun Breaker really showed out during the Royal Rumble. I think he's got a great look. I think he's got a great physique. I think his style is perfect. I think we need a big kind of hostile wrestler. I think it's been sorely missing these past couple of weeks. And the fact that he's young, I can't wait to see where his career takes him. I don't know if we're going to see maybe a potential IC run, something, involving like the speed title, potentially. I have no idea. Tag title, maybe, because, we know him and Corbin were kind of tearing it up in NXT. But I think the man's got a great look. He has all the potential in the world. He has the credentials. I think it's great. And then to throw it to SmackDown real quick and to throw it to the ladies, because I don't want all the men to be taking up the spots here, Tiffany Stratton. And I'm only going to say this, guys. It is Tiffy time come Money in the Bank. But that's just me.
Okay. So I want to say this quickly about the whole Tiffy time and Tiffany Stratton. Only reason I probably should have said her for SmackDown, mainly because I said Bronson Reed and he was already on Raw. But it's true. Tiffany Stratton, I agree, Gabe, is going to be the next huge female star in WWE. She's already fantastic. I loved that even though she was drafted to SmackDown, she was on Raw on Monday, getting involved with Naomi and Nia Jax while she was fighting Liv Morgan. Which, another ADHD side note moment here from the Maestro. Liv Morgan's powerbomb off on Nia Jax. Oh my God. That was better than her actual finishing move. I'm just throwing it out there. But Tiffany Stratton probably will win Money in the Bank. And it'll be well-deserved. I'm just, WWE, say what you want, but the Paul Levesque era is going really well. I know there's a lot of people out there who have their doubts. I think it's going really well right now.
I got my thoughts about the people who have their thoughts on the Paul Levesque era. You're full of it. You're full of it. All right. I get it. We all like the nostalgia trip of The Rock coming back at WrestleMania. Oh my God. Let's break out the legends so people can feel like the 90s. They happened. All right. This is the real time for wrestling. And you want to talk about athleticism. You want to talk about peak skill and only have opportunity to grow. It's this generation. Keep your eyes on the NXT people, because I promise you Paul's going to do right by them. But that's just me, Jeremy Carp.
Jeremy, hold on, Jeremy. It's time for me to step in. And for once, I'm going to say this because there was actually two very wise men.
Uh-oh.
One being Arn Anderson and one being the Assassin. Both of which got their points across without having to yell and scream. Gabriel Arsene, you and I have been friends for a long time. But I'm going to level with you right now. Gabriel Arsene, you, sir, have an issue. And the reason why is this. I get everybody's statements about the new era and the Paul Levesque era. But you got to understand something. If we don't have a Paul Levesque era, we very well could have been stuck in a 1980s WWE environment. To level with the people here and our scene, here's where you and I can agree. Without a Paul Levesque, without a Shawn Michaels, you don't have an NXT platform.
Yep.
However, if you don't have a Paul Levesque making a movement up to the main seat, what happens is the idea of we have the same old, same old. And as we're going to take care of things right now, only time will tell if the new era will be more than a flash in the pan. But I'm going to say this right now. To me, I think it's a situation, as we look at things, that Paul Levesque thus far has delivered. Maestro, final thoughts, and then I'm going to go ahead and throw out my two choices for who makes the biggest impact. Maestro?
Honestly, no, I didn't really have any other thoughts except for the fact that, I get it. Look, WrestleMania 40, you know what? I do have a final thought. What the hell am I talking about? WrestleMania 40, they call it.
You always have a final thought, Maestro.
I do. I'm usually the closer of the show anyway. So, they call it the end game, if you will, the Avengers Endgame. I mean, come on. You went from having the Usos to Solo, then Cena, then The Rock, then The Undertaker. You had Seth Rollins in there. You had everybody and everything. You had a decade's worth of storytelling, sometimes a decade and a half worth being thrown in. I mean, this was a historic main event that capped off a historic 2 nights. Arguably the greatest WrestleMania of all time. To me, top 3, 1,000% top 5. And I do think it was a bridge. Look, I'm not saying we're never going to see John Cena wrestle again. I damn well know we're not going to see The Undertaker wrestle. And I'm fine with that. Because guess what? What happened at WrestleMania was just enough adrenaline pump for me. We'll see The Rock wrestle again. I mean, especially because of everything with the bloodline. But it's you look at NXT on the WWE draft. Look at how they were all together like a family in that draft, and like outside in the ring and outside. Like it was literally like a war room, if you will. And they were all ecstatic when one of their own would be drafted to Raw or SmackDown. And Triple H and Shawn Michaels have worked together so long and so well, especially when it comes to NXT, that, I mean, you could make the argument for the next 10 to 20 years, we have the future of WWE right there. Like, and I know, and, Hardcore Hoss has said himself, yeah, by the end of next year, Cena might be done, but he does have another run left in him, he said. But point notwithstanding, the future is here. It hasn't all started yet, but look, we got a mixture of a lot of those older veterans with the new young blood, and it's a great product. And I have not been this enjoyed, because I watched, and I'm going to quickly wrap this up. I was watching some WWE stuff from 2010, 2011, things like that. And there was some really rough stuff in there. Some 2013, 2012. Look at it now. Look where we're at now, guys. Is this not just a fantastic time? Like, to be a wrestling fan in general. Like, this is the perfect time to be a fan of pro wrestling. But right now, if you're just a WWE fan, consider yourself extremely blessed.
Well, I'm going to level with you real quick here, and we're going to move on. I got 2 for each.
Okay.
On the Raw side, I'm going to say right now, Ilya Dragunov, and somebody who really hasn't moved a lot, Chad Gable.
Yes. Luke Roberts, thank you for that answer.
To put it nicely, I'm not finished. The SmackDown side, you're going to be surprised. The SmackDown side, I've got 2. Number 1, yeah, boy, Pretty Deadly.
Fucking bullshit!
And number 2, total shocker to many, finally, the emergence of Piper Niven. we've now talked about the draft. We've talked about a lot of things going on here. But you know what? We're going to go ahead real quick, and we're going to do something completely, and I do mean completely out of right field, because the Wrestle Talk podcast is all about spontaneity. But before we do, Mr. Arsene, if you would be so kind, we're going to go ahead here. We got an interview with Chris Exodus in just a moment. I want to go ahead and turn things over to you in just a moment for you to go ahead, as we talk about each and every week, to make sure we acknowledge all of our great sponsors here at the Wrestle Talk podcast. Because without the viewers, without the sponsors, the Wrestle Talk podcast does not make it 480 episodes. I think we're all in agreement on that. And then we're going to completely turn things upside down, inside out, round and round and round when it comes to the world of professional wrestling here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw things over to you as we talk about our great sponsors of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Mr. Arsene, if you please.
I'd be happy to, Skywalker. So the Wrestle Talk podcast, as always, would like to thank our fantastic sponsors, including Royal Mills Transportation, head by one CEO, Dewan Mills, Kincaid Arcade at Oak Park Mall, Interstate 70 Sports Media, Little Popeye Designs. It's where you can get your Wrestle Talk podcast tumblers. And, of course, the FWWC, the world's premier pro wrestling fantasy group. Sorry, I had to stand right there.
Well, you know something, guys? I'm going to level with you here as everything keeps going and going and going and going here on the program tonight. We're actually going to take, in a real weird way here, tonight I'm just feeling very spontaneous. And, Carp, you and I have known each other for many, many years. The words Luke Roberts and spontaneity don't normally go together.
No, I'm kind of scared right now, actually, because you are the most anti-spontaneity person I have ever met in my entire life.
Well, you know something right now here, and again, we're going to take care of things here, and we're going to get things loaded up. We have a great interview coming up here in just a couple minutes with the one, the only Chris Exodus. We're going to go ahead here, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the music, because we're actually going to go ahead and we're going to have some spontaneity. And again, the word of the day, spontaneity. And the first piece of spontaneity is going to come up right now. You know what time it is. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only. And please tell me this is going to cooperate today, because this is live programming.
What's up?
All right. Now, Big Daddy P, as Gabriel Arsene is recovering from his problems here just a few seconds ago, we're going to change things up a little bit tonight. We're going to be a little bit spontaneous here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. And I cannot tell you the last time, and I know this has happened, I believe, on one or two other occasions, where you've had an opportunity to take part in this. So before we go to the snippets of truth, before we talk about all the things that are really pressing.
I've done high spots.
Well, I know you've done the high spots, but...
Matter of fact, I was even asked earlier if I could help co-host, but I wasn't home. I would have loved to have done that. We would have had a freaking blast.
Well, you know, as we put it right here, we're going to throw something new at you.
Cool.
And I know for a fact that Gabriel knows what's up. Jeremy doesn't have the first clue. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the maestro, Gabriel Arsene, Luke Skywalker Roberts, and Big Daddy P as we get ready for the one, the only Shoot and Shout segment.
It's just one of those days when you don't want to wake up. Everything is fun, everybody sucks. You don't really know why, but you want to justify ripping someone's head off. No human contact, and if you interact, your life's on contract. Your best bet's to stay away, motherfucker. It's just one of those days.
You better give me the rules.
All right. Now, like I said, I don't know if you've ever participated in this, Big Daddy P. I know you've heard how it goes.
I mean, outside of just being naked at the moment, I really don't. I'm totally like, I'm not naked. I'm saying that's spontaneous. This game, I've been naked before, so I'm good at that. It's this game I'm probably not going to be good at, but who knows? Let's see.
Well, what it is with the shoot and shout segment is we either talk about something that's on our mind or something that we want to give somebody recognition for. And I'm going to go ahead and get started because, again, of course, I'm pulling the idea that the Cubs are in first place. So wow. I'm going to go first. My shoot and shout is very simple. And I want to give a shout out to a good friend of mine who has been doing phenomenal things. I know a lot of people watch Beyond the Mat and talk about how Terry Funk has been was dealing for years with basically having no cartilage in his knees. I got a friend of mine, and I'm just going to level with people. Been a longtime friend of mine, who's realistically looking at major knee replacement in the next couple months. And this person is still going at 100 miles an hour, knowing that both knees need to be replaced, not much older than myself. And I gotta give him a shout out because, simply put, to be able to go full speed when both knees need to be replaced, that just took it to a completely another level. And you know who you are. Thank you for all that you've done to keep things going. That's my shoot and shout for the week. No grumpiness, no negativity here. Night Owl will be proud. Arsene, your turn. Shoot and shout.
Well, I just want to throw this out there. It is shoot and shout. And what makes a good shoot? It's honest. Doesn't have to be, let's be real. How many of the best shoots in wrestling were honesty? Nothing about swearing. I mean, it's funnier that way, but come on.
Well, Arsene
never drew a dime. Not a dime. Not a
Do you just have that do you have a clicker at your house?
Wait a minute. You're saying I have a clicker? Well, you know what? Guess what?
Dimes. Never drew a dime.
I'm going to throw that out there all night. I'm just on a roll here tonight. Shoot and shout, Arsene. Your turn. I promise I won't click on it at least for the next 5 to 10 seconds.
That's all I need to shoot and shout right now. So I've been working really hard, ladies and gentlemen, of the Wrestle Talk podcast family. I'm a salesperson, and I have to do my announcements in the store, and I have a freaking bone to pick with the people that got to be slick when they're walking past me. I understand we're all busy in the grocery store, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm just doing my announcements. It's my job. You don't have to go to it. You don't have to check out the presentation. If you got 10 minutes to spare, I can make it really interesting and fun and worth your time, right? But for God's sakes, these people, sorry, I don't mean to use the Lord's name in vain like that, Perry. For goodness sake.
I ain't no judge, brother. I never forget, I am not a judge. I don't judge nobody for nothing they do because I know there's one judge and y'all aren't going to stand in front of me when you die. So I don't judge nobody. Just know that. Go ahead.
Well said. But now back to these jackasses. But for goodness sake, they feel the need to be heard. And it's why I have to try so hard to just shut them out, because I'll do my announcements and I usually do the standard, BJ's members and guests, we're handing out some free promotional items. And I heard just some person who felt the need to make their voice loud enough to go, no, thanks. I'm like, okay, I wasn't talking to you. So to put it in short, in the words of Jim Cornette, thank you, fuck you, bye. But now we can throw this up to you, Perry. We need a little bit more.
Hold on, Arsene. You know something? I've been doing a lot of soul searching here. And when something like that happens, I think there's only 2 words you need to say. Big Daddy P?
My shoot and shout. You guys have Netflix?
Yes, sir.
Have you watched Wrestlers yet?
I have not.
Yes, sir.
OVW, Al Snow. Man, these guys took a risk. This business, see, if you've never been a promoter is different than a booker, okay? A booker, and the booker's responsibility is to deal with all the boys, period. Handle all the matches. That's it. The promoter, his responsibility is to promote. And I just watched this, and it's funny. I booked Cash Flow multiple times, one of my favorite. And I never asked him if I could have a chop, and I should have. But there are some this programming, if you want to know the frustrations of running a wrestling promotion, I strongly suggest watching it, because I was the money mark, right? But I was also a wrestling fan. I didn't know the boys much, but one of the biggest truths in this show is once you're in, you're in. And one of the rules that I told every worker that worked for me was, just so you know, you get paid before you work. What? Yep, here you go. I want you to know that anytime you work for Big Daddy P, you always get paid. I don't pay what comes from the door. I pay because I'm thankful that you chose our promotion to sacrifice and risk your body. This is the most realist, or shoot, whatever, out there. And if you really want to know what the wrestling business is all about, front and back, watch this, because you will have so much respect for not only this business that we're in, but all that run it, because it's not just the promoter. It's not just the booker. A lot of times they don't care about the promoter. They just care about the booker, right? Because he's one of the boys. But it takes a team. If you've got no one sitting at front to collect the tickets, you got nothing. If you've got no wrestlers to wrestle, you have nothing. If there's no audience and no one knows about the show, you have nothing. So my hat's off to Al Snow and all the crew, Maria and all of them. And I'm just, if you guys get a chance, I'm we can talk about it next week after you see it. But if you've never run your own wrestling company, watching this show, you get into the shoes of those who have to go pass out flyers. You got to get out of your house, get off Facebook. It's good to have flyers on Facebook. We use Facebook like crazy when we promote a show. And I mean, it goes, but we only target within about 50 miles, because realistically, I mean, I'm willing to drive an hour and a half to go see Raw, but that's to see Raw, right? But anybody that knows Big Daddy shows, we have a 20-foot video screen. We go all out, baby. But we also start with prayer, okay? And so that always ties in. But I just want to, again, my shoot and shout. I've got to shoot and I got to shout, because I got a bone to pick with all these protesters. Now, I normally, at dinner table, you don't talk about religion and politics, right? But those are my two favorite subjects, because there is a reality. And here's my shout. If you lived in the country that you're trying to promote, you'd be stoned and killed for your behavior. You don't even know what you're doing. Second of all, parents pay $60,000, $100,000 for their kids to go to college. And this kid today couldn't even go into his college to do his work because they stopped him. Now on TV, it was on Fox News, and it don't matter. The fact is, this kid was trying to get into his school and he couldn't. And they were blocking the way. Now, if that was Big Daddy P, I'd say you have 5 seconds to step back. Or all 4 of you, the next thing you're going to see is black, because I'm going to knock you out. I'm a Christian. I love you. I'm going to give you the salvation message before I do it. But if you don't move and let me go to college, I have a big problem with that. So if you're one of these protesters, man, you can protest. Nothing wrong with protesting. Don't break the law. Don't block the streets. and don't stop kids from trying to get an education, because obviously you're there, so you don't have a job. And I know you're young. Again, there's nothing wrong with protesting, but do it right. And that is my shout, and that is my shoot. And now,
you know something, Big Daddy P?
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this out here real quick at you. You talk about two things. Talk about religion. We talk about religion every week here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. That's one of the things that makes us unique.
Well, and it's not religion. I hate, wait, let me clarify. And again, this is one of the things I was talking to Renee about. See, the people here, they only know half of me.
Mm-hmm.
That's why at some point I need to unload, because I don't want them to think that I walk on water. I do not. I make mistakes all the time. I'm a father of 10 daughters. Now, most of you don't even know that. Now, most of them are grown and gone, but I still got 2 left. But the only point that I was making to interrupt you was that I hate religion. It's about a relationship. It's not a religion. I pray all throughout the day, and I don't have to say some glorious prayer. Sometimes all I have to do is go, he knows I'm panicking, and he answers. But go. I'm done.
Well, you know, as you look at it here, we talk about this each and every, but you talked about politics, and guess who shows up?
Who?
The one and only Richard Douglas. A man that has been all over the country, a man that Jeremy Karp, I have heard on good authority, was his personal role model, has finally made his triumphant return to the Wrestle Talk podcast. And again, a shout out to Richard Douglas here on the program. Jeremy Karp, I know we've got Chris Exodus. He's standing by. I would be remiss to give you the floor for your shoot and shout here on the Wrestle Talk podcast this evening. So take it away, Maestro.
You know, there's a lot of things I could say. A lot's on my mind. It's not like the days when I was in high school or before, when I could put on the pads and let out the anger. Can't do that no more, unfortunately. And because my friends and I play football these days, we have to do flag. I'm sorry. We ain't no spring chickens anymore with that. Okay. So there's a lot of routes I can take. You know, people attacking myself in I-70, I could take that route. Credibility things, yeah, I could go that route. I'm going to go this route. Now, a friend of mine and I had been in contact, and this is involving wrestling in the St. Louis area. Now, there is a lot of controversy over, okay, you know what? Fuck it. We're doing this. All right, here it is. You got Luke, you know as well as anybody how many promotions are in the bi-state area of St. Louis and Illinois. If you stop from St. Charles County to, let's just go all the way out to Carbondale, okay? Let's just go all the way out there for the hell of it. Guess what? There is quite a bit. I might say close to 20 promotions are out there. Which
10 from me, 10 from Arsene. 10 from me, 10 for... Thank you, Arsene.
There you go. Now, this is where I run into an issue. I run into an issue when none of them can get along. Guess what? At the end of the day, you all are doing the same damn thing. Trying to put the best product out there for the fans. And I hate to say this because I got friends where I'm about to say it, but trying to exclude them from a 25-mile radius ain't going to help. Yeah, I have friends out there, but guess what? I'm saying it because I'm kind of done. I'm going to be 29 in a month, and I'm just kind of over all the drama and bullshit that has attacked me in all aspects of my life. I love professional wrestling, and I love wrestling. But I don't need to hear every damn day how this wrestler from this promotion is having issues with this promotion. Therefore, he can't wrestle in this, and this promotion. Guess what? Fuck it. Find a way to get along. Okay? Because guess what? The St. Louis metropolitan area is almost 3 million people. It's a big area. A big area, a lot of promotions, and a lot of hardcore wrestling fans. Because guess what? Like it or not, baby, Madison Square Garden may be the greatest or the most famous arena in the world, but St. Louis, Missouri is the wrestling capital of the world. And I will take that thought to my grave. But guess what? Take your 25-mile rule, get rid of it. Take your you guys can't wrestle or work for other promotions, get out of it. If they're independent and they don't have a contract, they can work for whoever the hell they want. Also, my final point about this, and it's just ungodly frustrating, stop trying to crush other people's dreams in professional wrestling. You know what? No, in life in general. This is not just wrestling. This is life in general. If somebody has a dream, help uplift them. Don't try to bring them down because it doesn't get you up there. I'll tell you that right now. And it doesn't make you any more of a person than anybody else. So guess what? A little more uplift, a little less kicking someone while they're down. And maybe we'd be making a little more damn progress in this world. And I could go on and on about it, but I got so much love for Chris Exodus. And that I wish he would have 2 hours of interview time. But unfortunately, we're only on a certain schedule. So I'm going to end it there. That's what I have so far on this shooting set.
It's business. It's business. They don't understand that it's business. Even if you have someone who you like, two guys who don't get along, okay? If they're good workers and they're professional and they want a paycheck.
You know what? Hang on. And you know what, and Big Daddy P, I'm going to say this because this is perfect what you said. Guess what? You wanted earlier in the show, Luke, you and I, Elride commented saying he hadn't seen me in forever. You want to know why? Because I had a bad split from Dynamo. You know that. We were the commentary together. I love Chris Exodus. I love Elride. I love Dragon's Guild. I love Surge, Big Vic, Agents of Chaos, all of them. And you know what? I love Jim, Crystal, and Sadie. And I pray to the good Lord above I get a chance to make amends with them and talk with them because I still got nothing but the most love and respect for them. And how it should have ended should not have ended like that. And it just eats me away because guess what? At the end of the day, we all love wrestling. And it's just about what's best for each other. That is all. That is all it's about. And it shouldn't be about blackballing and barrier breaking and kicking. Like Sadie had a happy birthday, Sadie. He had a birthday last week. I couldn't even wish it to him because I got blocked on social. So I hope I get to speak to them again someday because I got nothing but love for them. They're so passionate about the industry. All the wrestlers at Dynamo, all the wrestlers at CHWA. I fucking love you guys so much. And for those at PWE, I can't wait to see you guys on Saturday. So that's what I got.
And you know something, Carp? I'm going to throw it out here again. Jeremy Carp.
Very, very impressive. Very, very impressive.
And you know, we could very well, Jeremy, we could put this into a whole nother show. But again, we've had a lot of great points here. Big Daddy P, I think the only thing that would really put things together here, we really haven't had a lot of communications here as it relates to prayer requests or anything like that. Can you go ahead and we're going to turn things over to you for a snippet of truth? We've got a lot of truth here tonight in the shoot and shout, but I think that
I really want to be respectful of the time for your guest. So I'm going to keep the prayer somewhat short, not because we don't have prayer requests, but I've already prayed like 6 times today. So I'm good, but there are going to be people who need it. But I also want to add to what he said, because I had a situation. Now, again, you guys were commentators. Okay. I'm a promoter trying to promote an event. We spend 5 weeks, the booker and I, working on an angle where our biggest heel wants to get lippy with Big Daddy P, who's the owner of the promotion. So we build the story, 5 weeks. We get to the second to last show, which is where we were going to set up a match between us. And the main event was supposed to be us making this announcement and doing this. And do you know the heel said, "I'm not losing to you." And that caused so much crap You think I was going to pull the main event? I mean, I had my outfit, everything ready to wrestle him. The goal was that we were going to do a tag match. I was just going to do a hot tag and elbow drop and be done because I'm not a wrestler. I had a bad back at the time, but I knew I could do an elbow drop. He ends up saying, nope, if you do that, we're leaving right now. So we ended up getting somebody else, one of his friends, partners, who he was part of a group with. And I never booked him again, and I will never book him again for that reason. It wasn't about me. It was about finishing the story, right? But they were not willing to do business. This is a business. If you are immature to conduct business, get the hell out. And when you watch wrestlers, you'll understand. People invest time and money and effort to put these shows on for one reason: to entertain. And if you can't be a big enough man or woman, or binary, or whatever the hell you want to call yourself. By the way, just in case anyone knows, I do identify as an African-American cucumber. So if anyone ever asks, at least you know. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go with a snippet of truth. Everything that we do, we're being watched. And not just by our government, and not just by NSA and everybody else. But God sees everything we do. Matter of fact, he even knows what we're thinking. And that's what makes the relationship so cool. Because if I thought I could get one over on him, I would. I've tried many times. He could have taken me out a long time ago, but he didn't. So your snippet of truth today is for you to understand that God sees and hears everything. And the only thing you're going to be judged on, there's two things. One, what did you think of him? Did you accept the free gift or did you reject it? But there's something else. How did you treat those who he put in front of you? The two greatest commandments are love me and love my people. Those are the two greatest commandments. If you're doing those two right, like I make tons of mistakes all day long, but the one thing I get right is love. And it's the hardest thing to do, especially there's nothing wrong with getting emotional and sharing your feelings. A lot of people can't handle that. They freaking ball up. They can't handle confrontation. But there are those who have big mouths like me, who have no problem communicating what I'm feeling, good, bad, or indifferent. But you will notice I did say I'm not a judge. Because I have the mindset that I'm not a judge, my job is to be a seed sower, not a soil tester. One more time. A seed sower, not a soil tester. I can't live your life. So who am I there to tell you how to live your life? But I have the ability to defend myself. I have the ability to say what I feel and to have the religion I want because of the country I live in. If you live in a country where you can have freedom of speech and freedom of religion, and you can start your own business and you can follow your dreams, you can't do that in every country. So don't take it for granted, because it could all end today. Father God, I thank you so much for your goodness and grace. I thank you for this time together. I thank you for Wrestle Talk. We're doing the final countdown to show 500. I'm so excited. I got my hotel booked in St. Louis. This is going to be awesome. Plus, I got 4 microphones, so we can have 4 people in one spot, which will be awesome. Whoever can make it, Father, open every door that needs to be open, close every door that needs to be closed. I have so many seeds out there for special guests, and they haven't answered. And I'm just waiting on that, because Big Daddy P wants to come to the table and with show 500 with some names, man, with some big people who need to know about this podcast. And Father, because you started it. And every week we have this show because you make it possible. It could end at this moment. We could lose internet and power right now. It could happen. So we just hope and pray that as we get closer that we can have this show, because at some point we're out of here. Those who believe, we are out of here. We are skybound to meet you in the clouds. And then there's going to be 7 years of the most difficult times. But if you are a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ, Father, we know that the believers will be with you and will not experience the tribulation, because that's what the Bible says. So anybody who has any feelings, Father, and don't know what it says, let them look. And then there's going to be 1,000 years of perfection, the millennium. So, Father, we know there's 1,007 years that still have to take place. And then we will come back with you. And then there will be global warming like this world and earth has never seen, but there will be a new heaven and a new earth. And I thank you. I thank you for the free gift. I thank you for the opportunity to believe. You're the one who wrote the words, believe in the Lord Jesus Christ and you will be saved. These things have been written that you might believe, that by believing you would have eternal life. And that because we would receive eternal life, that means we would receive your spirit, you in us. No other time period in history has a Bible completed and the indwelling power of your spirit. And I thank you for both of those, because now I know what you think because of what you said in your word. I don't have to worry about what everybody else says and thinks, but I trust you. I thank you for those that are watching who are hurting, who are struggling, who are suffering, and who have not turned to you, not because they don't want to. They just don't know how easy it is. I pray that you would let them just speak to them today in however means. I don't care if it's from a fortune cookie. I don't care if it's from a tarot card. I don't care what it is. Just speak to them today. Let them know not only that you're there, but you're ready to hear from them and you're ready to give them. We have not because we ask not. So, Father, in this wonderful story and conversation we've had, there's some feelings that are publicly put out, and there's some with Dynamo and this connection that has been broken. Father, I come to you right now asking for unity, some way, some shape, that we can all be on the same page, knowing that all this stuff that we're talking about is all temporary, but with you is eternal, that we would continue to love one another and care for one another. And even those who hate us and are against us, you've given us the boldness and ability to defend ourselves, and you will protect us. And if you see it fit for us to go to sleep tonight and wake up tomorrow morning, that is what we will be thankful for. But if we don't make it tonight, either way, we win because we're good with you and you're the creator. So I thank you for this time. I love you. And I ask these things by the power of the Holy Spirit in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who died for all of our sins. Matter of fact, when we stand before you, sin's not even going to be mentioned because it's already paid for. And you know who's going to accept the gift and who's going to reject it. Those who are going to reject it have been condemned already. But those who are going to accept it in the future, I know you're going to give them strength. I know you're going to give them an opportunity. So I thank you and I love you. In the name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy P with the
Jeremy,
snippets of
don't
truth
worry.
here.
You're Jeremy. Mark my words, and we are recording this. The fellowship that you're seeking because of the brokenness will come back together. I'm not a prophet, but I asked him to do it. And because he loves me, he's going to do it because he loves you. He wants you to be happy. So you watch. It's not going to be anything that you do either, because that would be too easy. You'd be like, see, I get the credit. He's going to make it happen in such a way that you're going to have no choice but thank him. That's who my God is that I serve. He is a loving, but he is a father. And when I get out of line, he has no problem disciplining me, whether it's through my health or through my bank account. Goodness gracious. That's it. I apologize to your guest, Chris. I'm sorry for taking so long.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Big Daddy P here on the program of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. Big Daddy, looking forward to episode 500. Looking forward to seeing you back here next Tuesday night right here on the Wrestle Talk Podcast.
Until next time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy P with the snippets of truth right here on the program. And gentlemen, I'm gonna tell you right now, Jeremy, it's been there all night. You've noticed it. We've got a lot of people. I think I'm just going to put it this way. I'm going to bring this message back up. We want Exodus. Clap, 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 clap. We want Exodus. Clap, 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 clap. I'm going to tell you, folks, tonight's been a hot night here on the Wrestle Talk Podcast. but it's going to get even more so. This man I've had an opportunity to know for a number of years. I've seen him as a part of the very beginnings of CHWA and building CHWA from literally the ground up. And I mean, again, to become one of the more recognized promotions here in the St. Louis area is a credit to a lot of what the CHWA has put together. And when you talk about professional wrestling, you talk about CHWA. This is a man we always talk about with AEW. You talk about with New Japan, the four pillars, the four corners of professional wrestling. If you talk about that in the world of CHWA, you have to include this man. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, it is our honor and esteemed privilege to go ahead to welcome into the program this evening our feature interview and to officially welcome into the Wrestle Talk family. We're going to go and give a little bit of music just to get him in the right mindset. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the Dragonfly, some know him as the Shoeserweight. Any way you look at it, you know him as Chris Exodus. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Chris Exodus joining us here on the program. Right. And Chris, I got to tell you right now, as you're here, this is one of those situations here, and I'm going to level with the people of the Wrestle Talk podcast. This has been weeks, if not months, in the making. I mean, we've had wrestlers like the Bearded Gentleman, Tommy Davis. We've had El Ride, the one-man zoo. We've had Chris Rodell, the voice of Dynamo Pro Wrestling, and I would dare say the voice of the CHWA. We've had Jeremy Lightfoot on the program. And I'm going to tell you right now, when you look at things here in the world of professional wrestling and you talk about things CHWA, as I said earlier on, you would be remiss if you don't talk about Chris Exodus. And Chris, first of all, welcome to the Wrestle Talk podcast.
Thank you for having me. You almost made me cry, like when you were doing the intro about CHWA, like being like a thing in St. Louis wrestling. It's like a thing I've kind of been trying to wrap my brain around the past couple of months, is like CHWA is not.
Fans are in support of you here tonight.
Let's try this. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
We got you A-okay, Exodus. We were good to go. So
we were just pointing out the comments, bro. You got
I'm sorry.
CHWA
my headphones are really messy, so yeah. But man, it's like really weird to think about, to be honest, because it's not always been this way. Rightfully so. I've done a few dumb things a few times a day for almost 10 years. So, but it's wild, man. It's wild to think about. So thank you guys for having me, and yet again giving CHWA another platform to keep on going. So thank you guys very much.
Hey, well, Chris, it's like I said, it's our honor and privilege to have you here on the program. Now, I'm a level with you here. I've had an opportunity to see the CHWA grow literally from, nothing. I'm over. The first time I saw CHWA was in Bethalto, Illinois at the, I believe it was the JC's Carnival many, many years ago. And I'm going to level with you. I was really torn on two sides. And I don't know if I've ever shared the story with you or not. I was torn on two sides. On one side, I truly felt that being a longtime wrestler in St. Louis, I was greatly concerned in what CHWA was doing, and not necessarily in the best of ways. But I also looked at it from a perspective of these were men and women who cared about the industry, who cared about becoming professional wrestlers. And seeing the heart, the drive, the passion, and determination, I'm going to tell you right now, having the opportunity just a few short weeks ago to step foot in a CHWA ring and referee a match, having the opportunity to sit ringside and be able to see some of the up and coming wrestlers, not just in CHWA, but seeing wrestlers that have gone on to places like the MMWA, like Dynamo Pro Wrestling, like 01, like IWAP, and seeing a lot of these wrestlers that have gone on to do a lot of great things. I mean, again, a lot of people say, and I'm going to use this analogy here, CHWA, in the eyes of a lot of people, is like the little engine that could. They just kept doing what they needed to do. I mean, it wasn't always the best. It wasn't always the easiest, but it was people who were dedicated to what needed to be there. And I would first want to level with you on this, Chris. And this is one of those that a lot of people don't necessarily know. When it comes to CHWA, this wasn't just the vision of one or two people. A lot of people say pro wrestling, and we heard from Big Daddy Pete, is family. Can you share with us a little bit about what drove you to be a pro wrestler and what drove you to bring CHWA to where it is today?
Well, man, I don't want to leave anybody out, right? Like, I always struggle with this because I never want to leave anybody out. But I mean, dude, there was so many people. Some, like, obviously, L-Ride, Jake Gold, Harlock Cross, and VDP and myself, we were like the 5 guys like that wanted to like do it, right? Like, we were like, hey, Cottage Hills like has nothing. Like, this town literally has nothing. We have a bar, or actually we have 2 bars, we have a gas station, and we have like a vape shop. That's it. Like, we have nothing here.
Hold up. You do have a restaurant.
Oh, no, it burned. Oh, Polly's. Yeah, we do.
And you do have a car wash.
Yeah, a very overpriced car wash.
Hey, I just said it was a car wash. I didn't say it was overpriced.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt the story, but you mentioned something about burning down. Can we come back to that later? I'll keep that in mind. But
yeah. So, man, like, we have nothing. And like, all the kids in school, I got expelled from public school because I like to fight and argue and punch people in the face. And so I got expelled, and I went to this alternative school, and like, for the first time ever, I met people that, like, I don't know, they just made sense, I guess. Like, the adults didn't scream at me for every mistake I made. They didn't make me feel like an idiot. They would explain things to me. I became a straight A student, graduated with most of the kids in the alternative school. And like, man, these kids, like, in this alternative school, like, I would show them clips of me and L-Ride, Lucas. We'd be out in my front yard just suplexing each other on the ground, and there'd be like a little promo beforehand, like he's talking smack. I come out and like headbutt him, and we're going. And, we were like 14, 15, and these kids in this alternative school, they just hyped me up, man. They hyped up the whole thing because, like, for the first time ever, like, we all had something, man. We all had something to look forward to. Like, the suicide rate has only increased over the last like 20 years. It's went up astronomically, and it's really bad when you're in an area where, like, you have a bunch of men, even women, but men specifically, with all this, like, teenage, like, you guys know how it is to be a teenager. Like, you're confused, you're angry, but you don't know why a lot of the time, especially if you're like in a bad area. And it's like, man, we all had something, man. So like, CHWA, like, everybody always wants to change the name because we're not in Cottage Hills anymore. Never gonna happen as long as I have oxygen in my lungs and my heart's beating, because it's not about pro wrestling. The name, pardon my language, this will be my one cuss word, and then I promise I won't say anymore. But I
we
don't
keep
give
it
a
real.
fuck about pro wrestling. I give a fuck about Cottage Hills, and that name will stick forever because it's for my people, and that's selfish, but I don't care, and I don't think L-Ride cares, and I don't think all the people from Cottage Hills that are constantly, dude. I go out in public here now, and like, they are constantly talking about coming to the shows. When are we gonna come back in the area every Sunday? Like, it's something to look forward to here. So like, people, we've done a lot of things wrong, and I will publicly say I have been a moron at times with my decision making, my mouth, my anger issues that I'm in therapy for now, and I'm really trying my hardest to get a grip on it because I've ruined a lot of relationships with my own temper and my own anger for no reason. But like, CHWA, man, it's deeper than wrestling, man. It's deeper than wrestling. And so, like, I'm sorry for the shit I've done to get it where it is now, but I had to do certain shit because if I didn't, we wouldn't be where we're at now, I guess. And it wasn't just me. There are hundreds of people that don't even work for us anymore. P.T. Beckham, Damian Blackwell. I really miss Jeremy Karp. I wish he was still around. I agree. I wish things went better with him. I love that dude. Nothing but love to him. There's so many people that put CHWA on their back at some point and ran with it and made it something. So, like, if you've ever worked for CHWA ever publicly, I cannot thank you enough. I am in the deepest of gratitude because you didn't just make a 5-year-old boy's dream come true. You made a whole town feel like we had something. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm not shit compared to everybody that's worked for me and with me. I shouldn't say for me. I hate that. They've worked with me. So,
well, you know something, Exodus? I want to look at something, and you made reference to it. And a good friend of ours, a man I know that you've met a couple times, a man by the name of Mr. GQ.
Love that guy.
He talked about the idea of sometimes you learn wrestling the hard way. And there were two men who went on to have great wrestling careers. And it's kind of ironic to be full circle with me being here on this interview tonight, because those two men learned how to train initially to be professional wrestlers in somebody's front yard. They went on to be phenomenal wrestlers. That being Power Trip, Harsh, and the late Izzy Blackwell. Having the opportunity to talk about wrestlers like Matt and Mike Seidel. And to put in perspective, it's one of those things where when you look at professional wrestling, if you have the drive, if you have the heart, you have the passion, simply put, there's nothing that's going to deter you from it. And again, putting this one up here, when you talk about the idea we're a team, forever a family. And that's one of the things that professional wrestling is. We are a family. We always know what's there. I mean, Dynamo Pro put on an event Saturday, and several of our wrestlers were in a car traveling to Ohio to compete. There are going to be several wrestlers this weekend that are going to be coming into St. Louis as a part of Dynamo Pro's Cinco de Mayo event. And if you're in the St. Louis area, and Chris Exodus will tell you, Cinco de Mayo is the place to be this Saturday in St. Louis. You got to be there.
Arguably my favorite, like, big show of the year for Dynamo. The Armory shows are really cool, but Cinco is just special, you know? It's got energy, man. It's got an energy I can't even, it's like, man, everyone's in it. I don't know how to explain it to you. I'm like jonesing right now just thinking about it. I'm like vibrating thinking about it. Like, yeah.
Well, right now, Chris, what I want to do is I want to go ahead here in just a second, and I want to pull up a graphic, which I think is very important to look at. And bear with me here just a minute. I'm trying to find where it is. We had our technology team get this all worked out. I want to bring this up here. And hopefully it'll cooperate and let me bring up the graphic. But if not, that's okay. That's the joys of a live program. Sometimes things work, sometimes they don't.
Hey, man,
well, right
that's
now,
the whole part of live entertainment. That's why it's fun.
Exactly, Chris. Exactly, 100%. But the graphic we're going to be bringing up here in just a minute, if it'll bring it up. If not, we'll see it later in the program, is the idea of talking about CHWA May Day, which is going to be on May 18th in Edwardsville, Illinois. And this matchup, this night of professional wrestling, is going to have a lot of great action. And to give you an idea here of some of the matches that are here, there's going to be a lot of great wrestlers, but I'm going to level with you. You're 3 weeks out from, hands down, the biggest match, and I dare say this, the biggest match in the history of CHWA. And there's been a lot of events. We've talked about things like From the Ashes. We talk about Great Googly Moogly. We talk about all of these different events. And as you see the graphic up here on the screen right now, talking about May Day and being Lightfoot's final battle. But when you look at what's here, as we bring everything back up on the screen, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the fact that on this event, on May 18th, you have to go up against a man in Aleister Crowe. a man that you have a very storied history with, a man that has caused you a ton of problems. And right now, I got to ask you, Chris, how are you preparing for a match of the magnitude of you and Aleister Crowell? Because a lot of fans don't understand why this is such a big match. Can you explain to the viewers of the Wrestle Talk podcast why it's such a big match and why so much is riding on this?
Before I do, I'd have to argue one point. This will be, I think, the second biggest match in CHWA history, because I believe Lightfoot's last match will be the biggest match in CHWA history. I don't know if anything will ever eclipse that. That's a personal thing for me, and everybody will find out why at some point, but not here, because Jeremy doesn't even know why yet. So that's a secret for now. You have to stay tuned to CHWA for that one. But Aleister Crowell, I get tired of hearing the interim thing. I hate that he's even dubbed the interim champion, right? Because let's be realistic. I got hurt, and up until a year or two ago, interim champions in wrestling weren't really a big thing. CHWA approached me. Hey, we want to try this with you being injured. I said, okay, because why wouldn't I? It's a good opportunity to try something fresh, and I'm a man of the people. If the crowd would have said, oh, absolutely not, Exodus, you shouldn't be I would have relinquished the title like that. No questions asked, right? No problem, because I would have agreed with them, right? I'm a man of the people. Aleister Crowell is the exact opposite of everything that I am. Aleister Crowell is the exact opposite of everything that I strive to be. He has zero remorse for human life. He has zero care in the world for anybody not named Aleister Crowell, and he doesn't care what any veteran, what any rookie, what any fan, what any referee, commentator, cameraman, or woman, he doesn't care what anybody has to say about him. And I care too much, because I want to make sure that when I go out there, every single person in the building gets their money's worth. He doesn't give a damn about their money. He cares about his money. He's a prick, to put it gently. How am I preparing? It's a very simple answer. And I'm glad you asked, because I haven't had an open forum to talk much about this yet. I've been at the dojo, working my ass off, the Dynamo Dojo, doing cardio, a lot of cardio, because I know he's going to try to take me into deep waters. I haven't been in more than a 10-minute match since I've been back yet. He knows every injury I've ever had. He's very smart. He's very intelligent. I'm not going to call him stupid. He's very intelligent. But I've been training in the dojo, professional wrestling, as much as I can. I do 3.5-mile jogs every other day. I've been, and this I've always done, but I don't talk about it much, because in pro wrestling, a lot of people do this. It's more common than people think. But I've been training Muay Thai kickboxing 2 times a week, along with jiu-jitsu 2 times a week. And most importantly, I've been open mat sparring with kickboxing so I can get punched in the face and be prepared. And I've made sure that my sparring partner is around 240 pounds. Crow's bigger than that, but I want to work my way up. So I've been working my way up, and my progress is really good. My water levels are good. I'm 154 pounds right now. It's the heaviest I've ever weighed in my life. My oxygen levels on my last breath test were really good. I got my blood drawn Monday for my Missouri license, and to keep it very simple, I'm going to do the one thing Crow has never been able to do in his entire career better than me, and that is be the best wrestler of the evening. He cannot do that better than I can, because anywhere else he might be able to, but not in the house that Chris Exodus built, CHWA. So that's how I'm preparing, my good man.
Well, to give you an idea here, and I'm going to throw this to my broadcast colleague here in a minute, because I know he's got a couple questions here. I want to show how unique the CHWA nation is. And there are 2 comments that came in, one right after another. And you're going to know both these people, Chris. You're going to know from the second their messages pop on the screen.
I can't wait.
I want to show you this. The first one is a day to remember.
Yes.
And that comment there shows a lot of what a lot of people will say in the world of professional wrestling. the idea of when you get the chance, you got to take the chance. You've got to do what you need to do to be successful in the ring.
He's had
And then the other one.
He's had 2 chances, and he hasn't been able to put me down. Third time isn't going to be the charm for him. Sorry to cut you off. I just want to make that known.
Well, ready for this one here? And again, hopefully it'll pull it up. Then you got to go, and this is a new one. We're quoting Kelly Clarkson right here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Yes, Gabe, I went there. It's a night of spontaneity here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. I'm referencing A Day to Remember and Kelly Clarkson in the same interview. Go figure. I don't think you're going to be able to follow that, Mr. Arsene. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw things here to you so you can ask your questions of the CHWA champion, not the interim champion, but the champion of the CHWA, the one, the only, the Dragonfly, Chris Exodus.
Sorry, I had to unmute there. Chris Exodus, welcome to the show, dude.
Nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure, dude. I'm new to your career here in the Wrestle Talk podcast. So I want to say, as a rookie, how did you get your start in wrestling? Like, had trainers, so to speak? I know you said you entertain a huge area. So I just wonder, like, how did you get your start?
Man, it started in the backyard, which is like a no-no, but I think in 2024, people kind of understand backyard wrestling's not the violent 90s ECW thing that it used to be. It's a little more, put together, a little more safe. But basically, we started throwing each other around, and then we went to a St. Louis Anarchy show, talked to a couple of the guys, like some of the wrestlers that we thought would be like cool, and we were like, hey, we really want to do this for real. How do we do it? They directed us to the Dynamo Dojo in St. Louis, Missouri. So myself and my brother Elride hopped in the car. We trained for like 3 or 4 months with Jake Durden, and would occasionally train with like whoever would be coming down at the time. The roster then was so different than the roster now, but like Jackal was one of the guys that would come down every so often. I'd get to train with him because we're like, kind of similar in size. It was cool to like not train with it because Jake Durden's like 6'7". He's like Bruiser Brody reincarnated, or he was back in the day. I know he looks different now, but yeah, we did that, and then I don't know, man. We were driving home one night, and I just wasn't feeling it anymore, and neither was Elride. And we were like, hey, dude, we're gonna buy a ring and just start like wrestling in a backyard and a wrestling ring and see what happened. We're gonna film it. Didn't know how bad that was back in the day, but as Luke said earlier, sometimes in wrestling you learn the hard way. I'm thankful that we did learn the hard way, but that's how it started. It's very punk rock. It's like a DIY kind of like just thing, dude, between me and my brother and a bunch of our friends.
Dude, that's wicked. That's like my backyard wrestling dream. It's just like, we do the wrestling ourselves. Just get the camera.
Well, and see, since then, like, there's been so many people now that have like just come in to help allowance. Like, train, and like Jeremy Lightfoot was like a huge like help. He came in, and like the first thing I talked to him about was like, hey man, could you help give our guys some experience? They need it. We need some work. All of us do. And then I don't know how his name is on this podcast. Please don't, boot me off here. I'm trying to be as nice as I can be. But like Playboy Double H, like he was awesome, dude. He was coming down and running training all the time. And then after a while, his dad passed, and like, he had to step away, rightfully so, because anybody that's ever lost a parent, dude, it's not fun. He's what I've heard, he's in like a great place now. So shout out to him. I'm happy he's recovered, because losing a parent's hard, man. But yeah, like he was training with us, and then that kind of just opened the door where like Ricky Cruz and Cayman and the Butcher, like they came to a show and they watched, and they liked a few of us, and they got us like a spot at MMWA, and like that opened the door to like, okay, can like some of you guys come down here and like work with our guys at the dojo, like like it's like a central, like kind of in the middle for most guys locate, dude. And like everybody on our roster now has like excellent training. Like we stepped the game up, but it took a long time to get there. Our stuff was very, I'm not going to say it was super dangerous, because I still had lived to the fact that CHWA, for all the things we can get knocked for, other than my neck, literally nothing really bad ever happened. We had like the occasional broken finger, busted nose, like, but it wasn't as dangerous as everybody made it out to be. But still, now that we're all properly trained, when I go back and watch a lot of it, I'm like, oh, all right. I see why some people were kind of heated that we were doing this. I get it. So, but it's cool, man. But yeah, at some point, like if you're doing backyard wrestling, like I'm never gonna shit on it because I did it. I'd be a hypocrite, and I'm not gonna ever try to be a hypocrite. But like if you're doing backyard wrestling, man, do it as safely as possible. Have fun, but at some point, if you want to do it for real, go get trained and do it, man. It's awesome. So it's cool.
Yeah, I gotta look into that because like I'm trying to get my foot in wrestling.
Yeah, man.
Like,
well, hey, you're on a podcast.
I know not to bump on a trampoline in my best friend's backyard now. I'm not like 16 and dumb. But
so much fun.
To throw it back to your background, you said you're studying Muay Thai.
Yes, sir.
Dude, that's wicked. Okay, so like, what got you interested in doing Muay Thai, and then what's the hardest part about doing it? Because like that's very different from wrestling, because that's like actual fighting. And it's
so
like, it's about limb strikes,
talk
right?
about this. I don't really ever talk about this publicly because like it's a really touchy subject. That's going to be such a pun later. When I get through with this is going to be a pun. It's like a really sensitive topic for some people because it's like a trigger warning thing, but it's about me. But I've realized some people. So long story short, when I was a child, something very bad happened to me by a grown man, and I kind of like, as I got older, I remembered it, and I got beat up a lot in school because I'm very small. Like I'm a very small human being, man. I'm 5'5" and 155 right now, and it's the biggest I've ever been. So I'm small, and people would always pick fights with me and bully me and mess with me. And then, I don't know, I just kind of like one day I really just wanted to fight back. I don't know, like, and I watched, I was watching this show on TV. That Mayhem Miller dude used to run it, Bully Beatdown. And I just started smacking people, dude. Like I didn't care anymore. Like I was cool with getting into fist fights like my whole life, but then when I got like to be 9-10 years old, then I was like really like, all right, I'll just smack people. I'm done with these people like that are gonna spit on me and hit me and rip my papers up and no, dude, I'm just gonna hit people from now on. Like I'm not dealing with it anymore. Well, then that obviously led to I started doing high school wrestling, and I kind of liked it. I liked it a lot, but then watching that show, I was like, man, I want to like kick people. Like I want to like hit people with elbows, and I want to get in the clinch and knee people and them not see it. Like I want to be more versatile. So I sought out Paisaw Martial Arts in Alton, and Sonny Hatton is the instructor there for the Taekwondo and the kickboxing and stuff. And I don't practice at that gym anymore, but not because anything bad happened. COVID kind of got in the way of me being there. And so, but they're still doing their thing, and I love those people. And I spar with a handful of people still that are like active Muay Thai fighters. So it's like I love it. I think it's great. I think the art form's great. I try to incorporate it into my wrestling a lot. But yeah, basically, man, Muay Thai, it was all an extension of just I never wanted to be a victim ever again. Like, and I just wanted to become a weapon, verbally, physically, mentally. I just wanted to become a weapon. It's something I've kind of been breaking down to my therapist recently because I entered therapy like 13 weeks ago or something like that because I had to. I was just like losing my mind, and she's kind of broke it down to me that I've been a victim since I was a little kid, and so like now my brain, the way, because man, therapy's deep. I don't know if you guys have ever, it's deep, but basically your brain like starts to form protections around you, and like your childhood very much shapes who you become. And so it's, if you're a parent, please take good care of your kids. Don't be abusive, like be supportive. Like it all plays a part because you don't want to have a 27-year-old in a therapist's office screaming and crying and yelling, blowing his nose. It's horrible. So treat your kids good. Treat everybody good, but treat your kids good. So yeah, that's long-winded answer. I apologize, but yeah, that's.
Nah, dude, that's what the show is about. Like, but that's a crazy background. Like, I can appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, RC, and I'm going to go ahead and jump in here because I do want to talk about the May Day event. And there's a couple matches that have already been announced, Chris. And I want to go ahead and take just a second here to kind of bring those up so the viewers of the Wrestle Talk podcast that are in the greater St. Louis area can have an opportunity on May 18th to check them out. The first match we're going to talk about here real quick is a match between 5-star Jesse J and Big Daddy Dion. These two men are no stranger to one another. What do you expect to see from this matchup at May Day on May 18th?
So I'm gonna be honest, man. I didn't see last month. I didn't see, like, how do I explain this? I thought this was gonna go a different way at the start of all of it. You know, like the way these guys were acting, and now it's like they've flipped personalities almost. Like this is the first time, man. I don't know how to call this because, you know, Dion has been training hard. Like, he went to an academy. I don't know if he wants that out there publicly, so I'm just going to leave it there. But he went to a very good wrestling school, and he got a lot of experience there from some very high-class talent. 5-Star has just been killing it, man. I think he's been wrestling for 2 or 3 years now, and he has just been killing it. He wrestles everywhere. His cardio, I mean, his stamina in the ring it's good. You can just hit him and hit him. I don't know. I guess if we had to put money on it, not that I ever gamble because I have too addictive of a personality for all that. But if I was going to gamble, man, I guess I got to go with Dion because I've wrestled both of them, and Dion is the one that got a dub over me. So I guess I'm just going to have to go with Dion based off personal experience. But no slack to Jesse. It could go either way. I don't know.
And I got to agree with you. I had an opportunity to see Dion and Jesse J both compete this past week, and both men are at the top of their game. And on May 18th at CHWA May Day, these two men are going to go out there and they're going to leave it on the table because it's not just a 1 or 2 month thing. This has been going on for months. Hopefully we can finally get to an answer at May Day.
And I don't want to cut you off, but really it started last year because right before Dion left the St. Louis area for a while, if my memory serves correct, he attacked 5-Star on his way out, you know, or it was either one of them attacked the other one on Dion's way out. I remember that clearly. It happened at CHWA, but it's been over a year, so I'm fuzzy, but this has been going on for a while, and it's going to be violent. I do believe.
And I got to tell you right now, Chris, I mean, again, to me, I really see in this case the opportunity where the winner of this matchup, they could very well be in line for maybe a one-up championship match down the road. I mean, again, it's going to be a very interesting matchup. The second one, as you mentioned earlier on, is a matchup that I'm going to be very much looking forward to for a number of reasons. I'll be looking forward to it, and then I'm not going to be looking forward to it. As we bring up the graphic here on the screen, we're looking at Angelo Grimsley taking on the Native Nightmare himself, Jeremy Lightfoot. Now, I'm going to take a minute here, and again, I'm relatively new in the world of CHWA. But one thing I'm not relatively new to is the mystique, the legend, the reputation of the Native Nightmare, Jeremy Lightfoot. He was one of the very few men in the wrestling business that I never had an opportunity to compete inside the squared circle against. I remember back in the late 90s, and yeah, if you want to say it, I'm that old. When it comes down to it, there was a lot of beef back in the early days of the internet. And a lot of people, and surprisingly enough, Jeremy Lightfoot and I were always just kind of like two ships passing in the night. And ironically, we get an opportunity to talk back in 2004 at a little place called Mid-America Extreme Pro Wrestling. And it was one of those where we were both sharing our experience. And again, I will say to this point in time, one of the greatest times in my career, because Jeremy taught a lot of the high-flying aerial offense. Harsh taught the power game. I taught the mat-based wrestling. If you graduated the Mid-America Extreme Academy, you knew what you were doing. And since that point in time, I consider Jeremy to be a very close friend. And I got to say, I don't want to see Jeremy Lightfoot retire. But I'm going to tell you right now, in the last probably 3-4 months, I have never seen a more determined, more focused, more animated Jeremy Lightfoot. And I'm going to tell you right now, I know for a fact that I don't realistically see, I hope that my name gets drawn to be the one to officiate that match. There's a lot of great officials in CHWA. But I'm going to tell you right now, if I don't get the luck of that assignment, I'm going to tell you right now, I would love to be at a microphone. I would love to be sitting on the stage. I like to be sitting front row at ringside. because I'm a level with you. Angelo Grimsley is the future of CHWN. I genuinely feel that. But I'm going to tell you right now, the wave of momentum that Jeremy Lightfoot has had, Jeremy Lightfoot walks out of Mayday, his final match inside the squared circle. I got to tell you, and I'm going to go on the record right now, my prediction, unless something changes in the next 18 days, you may even think I'm crazy, I see Lightfoot win in 2 straight. Exodus, your thoughts?
Man, this is one that's hard for me because Lightfoot is one of my mentors and one of my trainers, but Angelo's my brother. Angelo's my brother in Dragon's Guild, and that's deep. That's a bond that only a handful of people on this earth will ever get to experience, right? I don't know. That's so difficult. Angelo has been really grinding it out. He's been wrestling all over, trying to get better. Jeremy Lightfoot, though, is jacked. I don't know if you guys have been seeing him recently, but he's been hitting the gym like the past 3 or 4 months. He is jacked. Like, I would never, if he tried to chop me, I'd probably just tell the ref to ring the bell. I'm done. Like, he's jacked right now. And he is ready to, like, I know he's ready to go out there and die if he has to. Like, and I know that. He would be fine with that. Like, but Angelo, we're talking about the guy who he literally got crucified by Crow and then power bombed like through a light tube thing and was asking for more with blood shooting out of him. It's like asking me who's gonna win between Batman and Superman, dude. It's like they're both gonna just give the other one an ass whooping, and I'll call it like this: whoever can maybe answer the 10 count would be my guess, if either of them can stand. Because I don't know how else to call it. I'm not trying to fence sit here, but I just I don't know.
Well, Chris, I'm going to tell you right now here, from one Chris to another Chris, as we're going to get a chance here in just a minute to pull it up. Chris Rodell, longtime broadcast colleague of mine here in the St. Louis area, being honored to announce that matchup at Mayday. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a phenomenal match. If you haven't bought your ticket, you need a point to buy it. Buy as many as you can. Buy them early. Make sure you get it there. I know the Lightfoot family is going to be in large amount. I believe Austin Lightfoot's going to be there. I believe Doc Lombardi's going to be there.
We've been told by Lightfoot himself that there is going to be a ton of his, like, everybody. Cause yeah, it's going to be big. So for sure, be ready to get tickets.
And like I said, I mean, again, if you get an opportunity, make it a point to buy your tickets because it's going to be a great night of pro wrestling action. Now, I'm going to level with you. I have one more match to talk about. But before we get there, this is something, and I'm going to give credit to my broadcast colleague, Mr. Arsene, because I want to take a minute here while we've got you, Chris, here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. I want to take a minute here, and what we're going to do, we've done this a handful of times, is I want to go ahead and play a game of word association with you.
I'm so down. Let's do it.
And what we're going to do here is there's going to be some names that you may or may not necessarily currently are in contact with.
Okay.
But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw some names out here, and I want your thoughts. And if we have a graphic for them, we'll throw it up.
Is it a one-word thought?
One word, maybe a statement, however you want to go about it. Like I said, right now we got a lot of people watching the program here. Number one, right here, to bring it up.
Brother. Brother forever. Brother for life. Brother for eternity. Brother until the day our souls don't exist.
And like I said, I figured that would definitely be one to be talking about when we have this here, is the idea of talking about L-Ride. And I mean, again, the wars that you guys have been a part of.
Brother, that never gets said enough. My big brother. He's my big dude. It was so cool as a little brother because I had a big brother. It's the coolest dude. Yeah. Sorry. I just had to throw out my big brother.
Hey, and that's why we got you here, Chris, is because we're going to give you an opportunity to share what you think. Number two, we look at here,
little
Angelo
brother.
Grimsley.
Little brother. Justice, that little brother. I love him, respect him. He collapsed my lung and caused me to get part of my right lung removed. And now we've won gold together. We have lost gold together. We have bled together. And I think one day we might just wrestle our final match against each other, him and I, because I think it's going to take him and I killing each other like Batman and Joker for one of us to go. He will always be my arch nemesis, but he will always be my little brother.
Okay. Next one.
Oh, my dad. My dad. Hey, father. Yes, dude. Greatest CHWA commentator in the history of CHWA. The GOAT. Hall of Famer. Wouldn't be here without him, Dad. You're the man.
Moving along.
Very hardworking guys, believe it or not. I'm not gonna make fun of them. They're assholes, but they are hardworking assholes, and whether they want to admit it out loud or not, they're riding for Team CHWA. So I can't hate on them, but I can hate on them in the ring because they cheat and they're assholes. I'll leave it at that.
Well, like I said, that's one of those I feel very fortunate that you're the one saying it, not me. Because we talk about Dr. Dow Stevens, you talk about JSO. Both of men I've had a lot of opportunity to be in the ring against. And when it comes down to it, definitely not two men that I want to cross. Let's see here. Let's go with our word association. Next one on the list.
Sensei. Arch rival. Father and teacher. Wind of destruction.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, I know that's a man that you've had a lot of battles with over the course of your career. You know what's going on. And again, a man that I know you've had a lot of storied issues with. Next on the list.
Man, the coolest dude in the locker room most of the time. He is the man. Like, this dude I've never seen him angry once, like, outside of the ring. Obviously, he gets punched in the face in the ring. He gets a little hot under the collar. But, like, in real life, this dude is, like, the nicest dude ever. Genuinely. Almost too nice to be a wrestler. I love him. I love him.
Exodus, as you see right here, any man that can get away wearing a cowboy hat and a stag shirt, right then and there, definitely a few points. I know it's definitely one of those that Chris Exodus would approve of. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one.
Okay.
Well, maybe. Hold on 1 second here. We're trying to see if we can get the screen to cooperate. Hold on 1 second here.
Genius promoter. Genuinely genius. This man could promote a blade of grass to a lawnmower. Like, this dude could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. I've had my battles with Lenny. I think he dislikes me a lot more than I actually dislike him. Like, I genuinely don't have that big of an issue with him. I wish that things were cooler. I'm not trying to throw business out there. I'm not the one that said the CHWA guys can't appear on PWE. That was not a Christian starter rule. That was not a CHWA rule. I wish things were different, but man is an excellent promoter, and he's pretty good at hardcore wrestling too. Like, I watched his match with Gary J. Great match.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. And again, I apologize for things here. And of course, now we've got a good list going. We mentioned Lenny Mephisto, and all of a sudden it decides that we're going to go ahead and the word association deal is going to stop. Again, the joys of live pro wrestling,
yes.
live wrestling talk here on the program.
You mentioned the devil's name, pal, and he shall appear. I'm kidding. It's a Lenny line. I'm joking. I'm trying to.
Well,
I'm trying to make Lenny not so angry at me anymore. Damn it.
Well, like I said, I mean, we're going to sit here in a minute. We're getting the feedback up. I'm going to tell you, there's a couple more of them in here that are definitely going to be pretty surprising.
Hey,
let me go ahead here, and I'm going to pull the next one up here. There you go, Exodus. The snitch.
People in Cottage Hills don't like people named Snitch. I'm just going to leave it there. No, I don't like him. very much. We've been fighting a lot, and I saw his comment earlier about wanting to fight. Snitch, listen, dude, anytime, anywhere, ring, parking lot, backstage, you want it, dude, come get some, man. Because I don't like you. I don't like what you've done to my brothers. I damn sure don't like what you did to QP. So bring it.
Okay. The next one.
My family. My family. My absolute family. The greatest group of men, women, and children that I believe to be in pro wrestling. Not because of all the in-ring talent and the championships and all that. That stuff, the accolades are cool, but it's about because if my house burned down right now, knock on some wood, if my house burned down right now, I know that the Grimsleys, the Elride household, the Rocky household, I know even though he's not, I guess, in Dragon's Guild anymore, but I will always consider him a member of it. Tommy Davis, like, I know he would help me. He just texted me today about my grandma. Like, Dragon's Guild is awesome. It's my family. I love all of them. I would literally die for all of them. No questions asked.
All right. Hold on one second here. We're going to look here, and we're going to talk about the idea here. And I had a couple comments brought up here. Hopefully, again, our broadcast colleague Chris Rodell talking about you and the Snitch having a 5-star match last year.
St. Louis right there. Best ring announcer in St. Louis right there. Chris Rodell.
And you look at it right here, Exodus and Surge. I mean, again, a couple of great matches here. Next one we're going to bring up on the list.
Colgate commercials perfect cover child, while also simultaneously being the perfect cover child for irritable bowel syndrome. No, in all actuality, as much as I don't like him, very dominant champion, very much skilled in the ring, but come the 18th, he's not going to be the interim champion. He's not going to be the undisputed champion. He's going to be no champion because he will have no belt.
Okay. We got one more in here.
Man, the reason that a lot of us are wrestlers, the reason that a lot of us still believe that we can be wrestlers, and the reason that I'm even wrestling. I will share this story real quick because a lot of people don't know it, and Lightfoot hasn't gotten a lot of credit for it, and he hasn't asked me to tell it. He normally tells me to not tell these things, but I'm doing it anyway. And if he wants to punch me, he can punch me. When I was coming back from my lung injury, not easy to come back from, as you can imagine, trying to figure out how to wrestle again, basically. And Lightfoot gave me my confidence back. He trained me pretty much for, I think it was about 3 months. And I trained with him every single Saturday for 3 months straight. And by the end of that, I had my confidence back. So Lightfoot, I can never repay you for that. It's something I cannot say thank you enough for. You deserve a lot more credit than I can give you, but he is and forever will be probably the GOAT of CHWA, in my opinion. It's amazing to me that Lightfoot has even wrestled for us, and the fact his last match is at CHWA is mind-blowing. Like, it's crazy.
Okay, we've got time for one more. It was actually brought up by our broadcast colleague, Chris Rodell.
My reason to breathe. I guess you could put nation after that, and that would be also accurate. My reason to breathe, man. My reason to exist. The reason that whatever exists above me created me. No disrespect, because I know there's religion on here. I don't know exactly what I believe in just yet. I'm trying to figure that out now with therapy. But, man, whatever created me, if it's God, if it's the earth, whatever, they created me to do that right there. And I'm not just mean run it. I don't just mean run it, because, like, I don't even really run it anymore. Like, that's something that a lot of people don't know. I don't even really run anything anymore. But I was created to give Cottage Hills something, and Cottage Hills, I fucking love it here. I don't know how else to say it. It's a fucked up city with a lot of problems, but it's my city. So I put Cottage Hills on my back, man. I'll rep that loud and proud. Yes, CHWA Hall of Fame, no doubt. no doubt dude's going to have to go in. Lightfoot should be. Oh, I missed that one.
Oh, let's go back up here.
I 100% agree with that too. The man has done
Well,
a
now,
lot.
and I agree with you, man. There's a lot of wrestlers here in the St. Louis area who I said this, I believe it was the last time I was at an event, that when you talk about pro wrestling, you can learn so much, not necessarily from talking, just talking with Jeremy Lightfoot, but watching the matches, watching him compete against the likes, and I'm just going to throw a few names out here, against the likes of a spoiled Stephen Kennedy, like a Crazy Kid Curry, like a John Blackheart, like a Jimmy D, like a Johnny Courageous, like an AJ Williams, like a Philly Blunt, like a Makazi. You can throw him against people like Jackal, things along those. I mean, you name it, he's wrestled them, except wrestling Luke Roberts. And again, kind of thankful of that, because every time I hear him throw a chop, my chest just feels like it wants to go and sink in. But I mean, again, Jeremy Lightfoot, the master of the Lightfoot driver. And again, it's going to be one of those where it's going to be an honor and a privilege to be there at ringside for that matchup. Now, I told you I was going to leave the last graphic for right now. And here it is. I'm going to put it right up here on the screen. Right now, the fans are seeing it. Exodus, your thoughts. For anybody that wants to come see this match, what can they expect to see when the interim champion, Aleister Crowe, and the heavyweight champion, Chris Exodus, are standing face-to-face at CHWA May Day on May 18th?
Well, I want to make sure that I answer this as professionally and diplomatically as possible, as to not get myself in trouble a few weeks off the match, because Luke, as you know, because you've known me for quite a while now, sometimes when I get a little hot under the collar and I'm on a live camera with a live microphone, I tend to say and do ever time watching me wrestle. If you've never seen a CHWA match, this is the show to come to. Because, see, Aleister Crowe posted this video. It's 4.5 minutes long. I listened to it. And he talked about how he needed to win this match to prove that he is the best and to prove that he's undisputed and all this nonsensical garbage that wrestling is not about. He doesn't need to win this match. He desperately wants to win this match. As a famous snake once said to a millionaire, your downfall will be your own greed. And Aleister Crowe, you're greedy. And I'm not a snake, I'm a dragonfly. And you know what dragonflies do to snakes? They attack them. I'm faster than you, Crowe. I'm smarter than you. I've lived longer than you. So, Crowe, I'll keep it very simple. You are going to get the most violent version of Chris Exodus that you've ever seen. Not with weapons, because I don't need weapons. I have 2 of them here, 2 of them under my knee pads, and 2 of them called my shin bones. And I'm going to bloody you in front of everybody watching. I'm going to take your championship. I'm going to take my championship. And I'm going to do something that you've only had wet dreams of. I'm going to have myself a little menage a trois.
Okay. I really don't know how we can go much further here. A very strong statement here from Chris Exodus. Well, no, I get you. I'll tell you, Chris, you've known me for many, many years. And one of the things about being a pro wrestler for as long as I have, you know full well when you're ready to roll. And I'm going to tell you right now, May 18th, May Day, Edwardsville, Illinois, is going to be a war. It's going to be a blockbuster night. Not only are you going to see the unification, so to speak, of the CHWA Heavyweight Championship, but you're also going to see the last match of Jeremy Lightfoot and countless other matches. You can buy a ticket. And I actually want to bring that up here again real quick because we've got things worked out here. As you see here, May Day, Saturday, May 18th, Lightfoot's Final Battle, CHWA. You can go to Facebook and you can go to YouTube here. Prices 13 and up or $15. Kids 6 to 12 or $5. Doors open at 6. Bell starts at 7 o'clock. Again, buy your tickets early. Make sure you tell everybody that you know, because this is going to be a great night of professional wrestling action. And simply put, you're going to get an opportunity. One thing is for certain, you're going to see a retirement. One thing is for certain, you're going to see somebody walk out of Mayday with 2 championship belts. And I mean, again, when you're sitting here and you're looking at this, this is a great ticket. And if you get an opportunity, make it a point to purchase your ticket. You can also go to CHW. I believe it's on social media, if I'm not mistaken, Chris, and you can make arrangements to get your tickets taken care of.
We're trying to figure that out. That's kind of been a priority of ours the last month or two. We've realized that there's a way to do it now, kind of more remotely at homes and we're trying to figure that out. We can't sell pre-advanced tickets right now, unfortunately, but what I can tell you is the venue, they know what time the door opens and they're pretty generous with it. They get it space if we have to. We'll put people in the rafters. I'll build a whole. We'll go outside if we have to. I'll do whatever I got to do. You show up and buy a ticket, I guarantee you a seat.
And I got to tell you right now, as we look here at Mayday, as we got the graphic up here on the screen, if you get an opportunity to be in Edwardsville, Illinois on May 18th, this is going to be one of the hottest tickets in the world. I've already talked with you, Chris, about how busy my weekend's going to be, but I've made it a point for months, as soon as I knew this event was going to take place, to be there and be ready to go for CHW Mayday. Now, Chris, I know for a fact, I've talked with Elride. I've talked with Tommy Davis. I've talked with Jeremy Lightfoot. And I know they've all made you aware of a little thing called the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. And I'm a level with you. The Rookie, as many people have called him, a man who, simply put, as our esteemed member of the Wrestle Talk Podcast, the one, the only, the Night Owl, Renee Martinez, he made it a point to say earlier on that this man simply, and of course now I'm having a lot of issues here, but it's okay.
Never drew a dime. Not a dime. Not a dime. Never drew a dime. Not a dime.
Dude, that was killing me. That was killing me when I was on the backstage. That was killing me, dude. I was in here howling. I had to mute my mic.
Well, to give you an idea, Mr. Arsene has been on a little bit of a streak lately. And I'm not going to knock the man because he's done a lot of great things with the Game Show Challenge. But I'm going to level with you right now, Exodus. I've been pretty good with my predictions. I'm going to tell you right now. I predict a sweep. And it's not going to be Gabriel Arsene walking out of here victorious. But I do have to ask you the question. Are you up to face Gabriel Arsene in the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge?
I am never against a challenge. I think I am very much outclassed and outgunned here. But even if I got a water gun and he's got a machine gun, let's give it a good old college try, right? Let's go.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead here. We're not going to hear much from Gabriel Arsene because we know what he's going to say. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and hit the intro music for the world-famous Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge.
That's groovy.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's episode of the world-famous Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. Tonight's contest is scheduled for the best 2 out of 3 falls. Our contestants are the Wrestle Talk Podcast Gabriel Arsene and the CHWA Heavyweight Champion Chris Exodus. In a few moments, gentlemen, I will give you information about 3 professional wrestlers related to a particular wrestling topic. When you think you know the answer, please go ahead and shout out your answer. The first to get 2 of 3 answers correct will win tonight's Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. Tonight's Game Show Challenge category, in honor of our guest, is famous wrestlers from Illinois.
Matt Sydal, CM Punk, and Delirious.
You're a little early there, Exodus. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you information about these three wrestlers. When you think you know who I'm talking about, you shout out the answer. First one to get 2 out of 3 right will win. Exodus, you understand the rules?
Yes, sir.
Arsene, if you can turn on your microphone, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. This individual is well known for spending many years on the independent scene in the state of Illinois. He made his debut in the WWE and held championship gold. After a brief time back on the independents in the state of Illinois, he moved on to become a champion and is still a champion in Impact Wrestling. Name him.
Man, I watch Impact too. This one's got me.
Forget.
Right.
Is Alex Shelley still in Impact?
You are incorrect, Arsene.
Okay. Well,
the next clue. He was considered to be the leader of the stable known as Retribution.
Mustafa Ali.
Mustafa Ali is correct. 1 fall for Mr. Arsene.
He's from Illinois?
He's from Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh.
Wrestled many times with the Dreamwave promotion, among others. At this point, Mr. Exodus, are you ready for the second question?
Yes.
Mr. Arsene, are you ready? This individual has spent many nights competing in the state of Illinois. He has held countless championships throughout the world. In addition to his famed 7 stages of hate, he has also moved on to an on-camera executive role with the WWE. Name him.
It's not. Is it Adam Pearce?
The second fall goes to Chris Exodus. Scrap Iron, or some know him very personally as Scrap Daddy Adam Pearce, is the individual I was speaking of. At this point, it is 1 fall apiece. Gentlemen, it is time for the third and deciding fall.
Oh, no.
Are you ready, Mr. Exodus?
Nervously, yes.
Arsene, are you ready?
I'm ready.
This individual began his career in the state of Illinois, competing on independent promotions throughout the state and throughout the Midwest. After a less than eventful time in the WWE through the NXT brand, he basically rebuilt himself in New Japan Pro Wrestling before returning to AEW as a member of Bullet Club Gold. Name him.
Right.
Arsene?
I said Jay White.
You are incorrect.
Is it Juice Robinson?
Tonight's winner of the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge is the CHWA Heavyweight Champion, Chris Exodus.
Dude, this is yours now. I have to mail this out.
Dude, hey, we got to do the thing. We got to do the thing.
We got to do the belt thing. Dude, well, ladies and gentlemen, to only be fair to our winner, Mr. Exodus, I believe that you deserve some celebratory music.
Holy jeez, I can't believe I won. All right. I was playing the belt like a keyboard.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we let Chris Exodus go, Chris, for those that want to know more about you, know more about how to purchase tickets or how to attend upcoming CHWA events or other events that you will be appearing on, how can they find out more about you, Chris Exodus?
So I suggest, I've been very bad with social media over the past few years because it's very nerve-wracking for me to get on there. I've done a lot of dumb things on there, so I've tried to kind of get a fresh restart. I've just kind of started actively using my Facebook page, Chris Exodus. If you send me a friend request, I normally accept it. I pretty much accept anybody that sends me one. You can also find me on Twitch. I'm on there all the time playing video games, talking wrestling, twitch.tv/TrueExodus7. This one is a bit controversial, not for younger people, but maybe for the older viewers. I have a YouTube channel, but I want to preference that it is an 18+ channel, not because of any sexual or nudity or any stuff like that, but we pop wheelies on dirt bikes. We maybe enjoy a little bit of left-hand cigarettes. If you both gentlemen would catch my drift here. It's a very adult-themed YouTube, but it's fun. The vibes are good, and there's wrestling stuff, there's dirt bike stuff, there's video game stuff, there's all kinds of stuff. I post sporadically, but it's fun. So those
And
are
just to give
Facebook
you an idea too, I did want to bring up an update here. Thank you to Raspberry Grimsley. There will be no pre-sale tickets for May Day. You will need to purchase them at the door. I'm going to tell you right now, you need to make sure their doors open at 6. I would be there because it's going to be a great night of pro wrestling. The retirement of Jeremy Lightfoot, the opportunity to see the unification of the two CHWA heavyweight championships into one. And I'm going to say right now, I don't know exactly what my assignment is going to be on May 18th, but I will tell you one thing. I will be in attendance. Our broadcast colleague, the one, the only Chris Rodell, will be in attendance. Who knows? Maybe the Maestro Jeremy Karp will show up. But the fact remains, this is going to be a ticket. And even if Ramsey Rancid makes a comment about Mayday, you got to admit this is going to be a big deal if you're in the greater Edwardsville area. And I'm going to level with you. And Chris, this is from one Metro East guy to another. If you come over to see CHWA Mayday, there are a lot of great places to get food, not just at the venue. There are a lot of great places like Peel. There's Clementine's Ice Cream. There's
places.
There's no, don't go there. There's places like Sauce on the Side. There's places like Doc's Smokehouse, Edley's Barbecue, High Point. I mean, you name it. If you want to find it, there's a lot of great food there in the area, a lot of great places to see. You're shouting distance from SIU Edwardsville, and hands down, some of the best wrestling you're going to see on May 18th, live CHWA Mayday. Chris, we can officially say now that you are a part of the Wrestle Talk podcast family. We thank you for coming on the program, and I will tell you this, as the summer goes on, as we near episode 500, we're definitely going to have you back on the program for round 2.
I can't even believe I got to come on here the first time, to be honest. It's kind of mind-blowing, and that CHWA gets a platform like this. I can't say thank you to both of you and Jeremy enough. Tell Jeremy, because I'm sure you guys will talk to him before I will. Tell him I said that I love him. I'll reach out to him soon. I hope to see him soon, too. I like that guy. I really appreciate you guys giving CHWA such a platform, man. I can't say thank you enough. I could sit here for an hour and just keep saying thank you. So thank you from me and for all the CHWA guys and gals from the past, from the present, from the future, and from all the CHWA Nation to the Wrestle Talk podcast. I just love you guys, man. Thank you. Thank you for giving us this platform, and I will never take it for granted. I assure you that. I will remember this for a very long time. Thank you both.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the Dragonfly himself, the Shoeserweight, Chris Exodus. That's what I'm going to remember he as. But right now, he's got a big match May 18th in Edwardsville, Illinois. Chris Exodus here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. We're going to go ahead here and let you go, Chris. See you soon. And at this point, our scene, as we go take care of things right here, I got to tell you, from top to bottom, a great night of professional wrestling discussion right here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Any final thoughts here tonight?
We're a long ways to episode 500, but we're getting there every single day, and it's going to be awesome. I can't wait, and I hope to see you there, Luke Roberts.
Well, I got to tell you right now, our scene tonight was a great opportunity. But, before we get too much farther along, I do want to go ahead. We want to go ahead and take care of our great sponsors. But before we do, and we've left this out all night, but it's only justified, it's only right that if we're going to make an announcement talking about our great sponsors, we need to throw it to the one, the only, the late Lord Alfred Hayes.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following. Promotional.
All right, we want to go ahead and once again and thank all of our great sponsors here of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Royal Mills Transportation in the Kansas City area. If you need transportation, get a hold of the CEO, DeJuan Mills. He'll more than take care of you. Nobleman's Barber Lounge, Kansas City. Kincaid Arcade at the Oak Park Mall. Interstate 70 Sports Media. Want to give a shout out to the maestro, Jeremy Karp, who joined us here in hour number 1 this evening. Little Popeye Designs. Home of the world famous Wrestle Talk podcast, Tumblr, and the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. Also, again, as a reminder, you want to make it a point. We talked about it here earlier this evening on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and bring it back up here because we had an opportunity from the great folks over at Interstate 70 Sports Media. I want to bring in, make sure you tune into Roundabout Sports tomorrow night at 7 p.m. with special guest Jeremy A. Boyer. It's going to be a great interview on Interstate 70 Sports Media and Roundabout Sports. Again, also as a reminder, we want to say thank you to everybody who's tuned in tonight. We still got a lot of people who are a part of the program. Also, as a reminder, please make it a point, as we're going to bring it up here, make it a point that if you like the Wrestle Talk podcast and you enjoyed it, make it a point to like and share this broadcast. And also, again, as a reminder, if you're talking about the Wrestle Talk podcast, make it a point, hashtag WTP, hashtag Let's Talk Wrestling. We got a lot of great communication here. We've had a lot of great people join the Wrestle Talk podcast family over the last few months. And again, we want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to experience what we've grown to love, that being the Wrestle Talk podcast. Shout out to the Night Owl for joining us also in hour number 1. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're in the St. Louis area and you have nothing to do this coming weekend, I would definitely make it a point, if you get the opportunity, make it a point. Dynamo Pro Wrestling will be a part of the Cinco de Mayo Festival this coming Saturday. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the event starts at 11. I believe the pro wrestling starts at noon. A lot of great action that's going to be taking place there. I believe Dynamo Pro Wrestling, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 separate events on this Saturday. You're going to see myself, my broadcast colleague Chris Rodell, all the great Dynamo Pro wrestlers, both male and female. It's going to be a great night, a great day, I should say, of professional wrestling action. Lots of great food, lots of great beverages, lots of different booths, great music from top to bottom. A great day of professional wrestling. And again, May 18th, CHWA May Day. Also, as a reminder, as you heard earlier on in the show, and Gabe was able to take care of it, he went to go see and cover MLW's War Chamber, courtesy of MLW. This coming Sunday, make it a point, check out Wrestle Talk podcasts on social media, as the one, the only Hardcore Hoss is going to have some exclusive coverage of micro wrestling in Rancid, West Virginia.
We should do commentary on War Chamber, and just make it a YouTube exclusive.
We could see. I mean, again, it's one of those where
people could listen to it while they watch it on YouTube for free, dude.
Well, that is too it. And to give you an idea, that's an opportunity of where, again, we wouldn't have experienced any of these things and been able to bring it to you without you, the fans, and also all the great viewers of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Any final thoughts, Arsene, before we call it a night here?
Just check out MLW. It's really good. It's good wrestling, guys. You got to check it out.
And I got to tell you right now here, if he's talking MLW and not talking New Japan Pro Wrestling, you know it's something that registers pretty deep with him. Make it a point, check out MLW Wrestling. Make it a point to check out AEW. Make it a point to check out Micro Wrestling. A lot of great promotions here in the United States and throughout the world that professional wrestling fans from coast to coast are going to enjoy. Again, thank you for tuning in tonight. As a reminder, as we take care of things right here on the program, as a reminder, if you ever have problems, you have anything that's going on as it relates to you feeling stressed out, you feel like things are not going the way that they need to, make it a point. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline, make it a point. They're open 24/7, 365. Make it a point to extend out to them, talk to your friends, talk to your family, because At the end of the day, we're all one great big wrestling family, and we all take care of each other. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for tuning in tonight. 3 hours of pro wrestling talk. We're only scheduled for 2, but we went for 3, and it's because of you. Ladies and gentlemen, for Gabriel Arsene, this is Luke Roberts. We want to thank you for tuning in, and tune in next week right here on the Wrestle Talk podcast for more great wrestling talk. We will see you next week right here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Take care.